Hello, Binks Extra viewers. This is my extra channel. I'm Binks. It's the extra channel, not the real channel, so make sure you subscribe to the extra channel down below. I'm currently in the middle of my Binksathon where I'm streaming for 12 hours a day, every single day. And one of the rewards for a Binksathon was to do a tier list of every single card in Marvel Snap. Every single card in Marvel Snap we're going to rank. There's so many cards. The more I scroll down, the more horrified I get as I see how far down I have to go down this list. We're gonna have to probably go pretty fast, so we're gonna be doing really quick breakdowns of each card, talk about why you'd use it, and talk about where it fit. Now you'll see on the left there's different rankings. It's fives. 5 stars are meta defining cards. These cards are absolute tyrants. They're incredibly important to the meta. They're cards that you have to think about at all times when you're building decks. It's cards that you always consider in every single deck. Archetype defining cards, just the best of the best, creme de la creme, most important cards in all Marvel Snap. 4-star cards are either cards that are just incredibly powerful and can kind of fit into any deck. Just super powerful on their own, that make you think about them in pretty much every single deck that you'd want to add a card into. Or they can be kind of like a niche card, but a card that defines an archetype that's very important and potent in Marvel Snap. 3-cost cards are kind of like role players in good decks. Cards that are quite powerful, but you know, not on that high echelon of like crazy power level cards, or just kind of like very solid role player cards in good decks. 2-star cards are very meta dependent cards, so they're cards that you don't often see. They're maybe the star of a very niche archetype deck that will sometimes sneak into the meta as a counter to certain very meta decks, or just like somewhat powerful cards that might be an option, or a tech card that maybe you know shows up in certain times during the game. 1-star cards are cards that you pretty much never ever see. They're very memey. They're cards that maybe find their way into like a tier 5 deck or a tier 4 deck that's like semi competitive, but just really bad cards that you almost never want to include in your deck, and you'd have to have a really good reason. And lull tier cards are cards that you should not put in your deck. If you were putting a lull card into your deck, you're simply throwing, in my opinion. That's very few cards I think fall into the lull, because I think that there's a lot of cards. I think there's a lot. I actually don't think Strong Guy is a lull card, which is quite funny. It's damn close, but I don't think it is. But lull is like the worst cards that I personally think if you add this into your deck, you're throwing, because it just makes your deck worse. You could add any other card into your deck other than the card that you added, and it would be worse. Let's get things going. Agent 13, a 1/2 that adds a random card to your deck, your hand. This card used to be pretty good in some like Dino lists, and sometimes if you're in like pool 2, it can be pretty good in a pinch. However, this gets outshined by things like Sentinel, things like Snow Guard. We'll throw it in tier 2. It does see some very fringe play in Loki decks that really focus on Collector, but I think it's super meta dependent, and it's only going to find its way into a deck when you really need to do things. Yeah, unbelievably outclassed by Snow Guard, even after a nerf by like a lot. I put that at a 2 tier. Agent Coulson, a 3/4 that adds a 4-cost and 5-cost card to your deck. I think is probably kind of like the echelon of a level 3 card. Just very solid card in Loki. Almost goes on to 4 now that Loki's around, because it's such a good card in those Loki decks. I just brought it into my Dino Surfer deck that I think is really solid. I think the Agent Coulson is just an absolutely wonderful card. It's one of the best draft cards. So if you're doing like a Marvel Snap draft, it's one of the absolute best cards that you can draft for your deck, because it's just it's premium stat and it just adds stuff. Super solid card. I'd say 3, kind of on the borderline of 4. America Chavez, 5-star card, one of the best cards in the entire game. Not even a card really, just a card that adds consistency to so many decks. I used to really undercut Chavez a lot. But I think you can throw this card in any deck. Like a lot of times you're like, oh, but I want a top deck on turn 6. No, you don't. The only deck that you don't really want Chavez in usually are decks that rely on magic. So pretty much if a deck relies on magic and you want magic to extend the game, Chavez is usually not a great choice. Outside of magic decks, Chavez can go in literally every single deck in my opinion. And it's just wonderful. Probably the best card in the game, which is really crazy. Angel, honestly, this is going to go in lull tier. Now Ben, one of my viewers' sons created a deck with Angel and had a really funny moment yesterday, but Angel's just quite bad. I think the only time you can consider Angel is in a Death Thanos list. You can sometimes consider very slightly to include Angel for deck thinning, but I've tried it plenty of times in that deck, and it's just really not that good. So I would put that as a lull tier card. Angela's a 5-star card. Angela's absolutely a meta-defining card, man. Angela is very important in the game. It's an early tool that you get access to. This card is a 2-1, was crazy. This card got nerfed to a 2-0. Angela's really, really solid. It can go into almost every deck. Almost any deck can get this to a 2-6 if you get it early, and getting 2-6 out of value of a card is crazy. She might be closer to a 4-star card, but I think that Angela is really important. There's so many decks right now with Kitty, with all these kind of like movement style decks that love, you know, now that Jeff I think Jeff was really what brought Angela over the top. Jeff and Kitty, once they came into the game, Angela is just really good. We're not going to do ordering matters. We might move some things around eventually. Ant-Man. Ant-Man's interesting. A 1/1 that gets +3 when it's added in. As far as 1-cost cards, this is kind of like your early, really solid 1-cost card. I'm between 2 and 3. I'm between 2 and 3 for Ant-Man. But I think that Ant-Man has kind of found its way. I feel like if you asked me 6 months ago, Ant-Man's very solidly a tier 3 card, or a tier 3 card. I think that Ant-Man's a 2 card right now. It's niche. Sometimes zoo decks, when Killmonger's down, can come into the meta, and Ant-Man's a star of a zoo deck. In any ongoing Spectrum type deck, whenever that's possible in the meta, Ant-Man's there. But Spectrum decks have always been about the same power level from a year ago when the game came out, and every other deck keeps getting better and power creeps them. So like Spectrum decks used to feel very strong right when the game came out, but every other deck has just gotten stronger, and those Spectrum decks have just gotten weaker. Ant-Man's a star of those decks, but it's kind of fallen. Apocalypse. This card might be in an okay spot right now with Galactus and Goliath getting nerfed, and with Spider-Ham kind of becoming irrelevant. The biggest thing with discard decks currently is that with Swarm in them, Mobius just kind of pulls them away. I would say that Apocalypse is a 3-star card. Apocalypse is very solid. It's going to star in pretty much any discard deck. If the meta changes enough, maybe Mobius starts to pull away. These lockdown Goliath type lists start to be gone. Discard might pull its way back into being very, very solid. But I would say that Apocalypse is pretty solidly 3 stars. Potentially can look at 4 stars in a different meta, but for the meta right now, I think it's sitting very solidly at 3. Armor, one of the best tech cards in the game, premium statted, a great way to fight against destroy decks. I'd say Armor's a 4-star card. You can put Armor in any deck. Every single deck, you can say, hey man, maybe I want to put Armor in this deck. I have a tech card spot available. I don't have many good 2-drops. Maybe I want to slot Armor into this deck. Especially with like Goliath now, it could be a pretty good Goliath counter. It's one of the only true Goliath counters. Very good against Destroy. Armor's just a very solid card. It's very, very strong in its of itself. Premium statted, very good. Arnim Zola. Arnim Zola's tough. I'm between 3 and 2. I don't think it goes outside of either of those. Definitely not a 4. I'm between 3 and 2 for Arnim Zola. Arnim Zola is a really cool card, a very unique card, a 6/0 that creates 2 copies into different locations. Very interesting. I like the card a lot. I really like running it in my ramp decks, and I really enjoy ramp decks. I think it's closer in power level to Agent 13 and Ant-Man though. I'm gonna put it at the top of 2. I might adjust this later if once I start filling in 3 and 2 a little bit more. But I'm gonna say Arnim Zola is at the very top of a 2-star card. It's Arnim Zola kind of disappears for a while and then shows back up in the meta. It disappears and it comes back, and it's strong when it comes back, and certain points it's quite good. It's pretty counterable. It goes into a lot of different decks, like Ramp. There's some like Black Panther combo decks. It goes into Destroy. I'm gonna keep it at 2. I might move it up to 3. It's pretty close. It's very close here. Very close. Attuma, a 4/10, which is very powerful. It's not a 1-star card by any means, but it's definitely a very solidly a low 2. Well, very low 2-star card. Too much super situational. You need another card basically to make it work, or else you can just slam it in a single location. It's very counterable. Any goblins, anything like that are really tough. Bryce, by the way, thank you so much for the sub. Welcome in. Very low 2-star card. I think Attuma was just too easy to play around. Pretty weak. Baron Mordo. I'm gonna put it in 1. Ah, dude, I kind of want to put it in LOL. Because Ronin decks don't even run Baron Mordo anymore. I'm gonna put it in LOL tier. There's no reason to run Baron Mordo ever in any deck. This card sucks. It's Shocker with a downside. I don't even put it at a 1. You don't even want this in a Ronin deck anymore. You just play... yeah, Mobius. Especially with Mobius now, dude. Jesus. You'd never put Baron Mordo in any of your decks. If you don't have Master Mold, you can use it in a Ronin deck, but... This card is awful. This card needs to be... This card could be a 2-5. This card would be a 2-5 and wouldn't see that much play. That's how bad it is. This card could get buffed by 2 power and wouldn't see that much play. This card could get buffed by 2 power and still not see much play. That's how insanely bad it is. It would be good. I don't think it would be as good as you think it would. With Mobius around, giving your opponent a draw is really bad. Maybe, I mean, I guess maybe if you look, I don't know. As a 2-4, it would still be bad. I guess we can all agree on that. As a 2-4, it still wouldn't see play. As a 2-5, it probably would see play because 2-5s are just quite good. Bast. That's a 3-star card. Close to a 4. Close to a 4. I would call it 3-star. High 3. Very high power level card. Very high power level card. Can do a lot of really, really good things. Bast is very, very interesting. It's a really cool build around card. It's a very unique card. People were calling for this card to be nerfed for a while. Probably close to 4. Zola over Bast? I mean, that's just wrong. You're just incorrect. Bast is a very, very cool card. I'm very happy it's a Marvel Snap. People were calling for this card to get nerfed for a while, back when Bounce was really, really strong. Very solid card. Beast, which is a 2-2, but it's actually a 3-4. Bounce is kind of not around that much anymore. People were talking about nerfing Bast back when that Kitty Bast deck was really, really good. And it was happening a lot. I'm not like making that up. Beast is solid. Bounce is not that popular anymore. We'll put Beast at like the bottom of 3, maybe. Yeah, Bounce can come back tomorrow with Elsa for sure. There's some pretty cool things going on there. Bishop a 3-1 that grows by 1 every turn. This used to be a 3-2. It's one of the best cards in the game for a while. Angela was a 2-1 and Bishop was a 3-2, and there was an argument to put both of them in a lot of decks. Bishop as a 3-1 is very solid. It goes in Ravona decks, which are kind of not played right now, mostly due to Mobius coming in, but also just not that solid of a deck. Bishop is kind of just one of those cards that's just not good enough a lot of times. We're going to put Bishop at the top of 2. Bishop's strong, but it's just kind of not in the meta right now. It's just kind of not seen in many good decks. I tried to make Bishop work a lot recently, and it's just like it always feels kind of bad. Might be a 3. Bishop's just in an interesting spot. Bishop is 3 or 4 is just completely wrong. I could absolutely see it being a 3. It might be a 3, but there's no way Bishop is a 4. Unless you're like still a Series 2 player. Bishop just doesn't really cut it anymore. In a lot of ways. It's interesting. I'll put it as a 3. I'll put it at the bottom of 3. Bishop's just in an interesting spot. It's quite meta dependent. You don't really see much Bishop anymore, man. Angelo's a bit 5, Bishop's at least a 3. Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't think Bishop's a 4. If you asked me 8 months ago, Bishop's absolutely a 4. It's just gotten power crap, man. It's kind of gotten pushed out of the meta at this point. Black Bolt, 5/8. Discard a card from your opponent's hand. Bishop is just 3-cost Angela. Then why do people run Angela in a bunch of the best decks and no one runs Bishop in the best decks? You ever think about that? Black Bolt is a 5/7 that discards your opponent's lowest card. Works really, really well with stature. This kind of stats deck kind of disappeared. It's like Darkhawk stats deck or just like good stats kind of deck. It just kind of disappeared. It's definitely not a 1. The problem, again, as I've ranted about recently, is Mobius. Mobius invalidates so many cards. Like right now, you're just kind of throwing if you're trying to play Black Bolt stature because there's just no reason to. So as a meta-dependent card, while Mobius is around, it's absolutely like you're seeing right now. It's not seeing any play whatsoever. So it's definitely a 2. I don't think you want to unnerf Black Bolt and stature. I think you want to nerf Mobius, man. The more I think about the card, the more I hate that card so much. I really hate Mobius. I think it's breaking Snap. It's pissing me off. But Black Bolt very solidly is 2. Black Cat is now a 4/9 1-star card. It's really bad, way too inconsistent. Sees random fringe play in some kind of cool Ghost Rider type lists. Maybe people are underrating it right now, and like the Ghost Rider Black Cat package should make it a 2. But this card's bad. They've tried to adjust it. It went from a 3/6 now to a 3/7, now to a 4/9, and it always like people try it a little bit and then just get rid of the card again. This card's the kind of the epitome of a 1-star card. I'm gonna move Black Bolt. I'm gonna move Arnim Zola up. Okay, you guys convince me. Arnim Zola's 3. I'll move Arnim Zola up. The more I'm looking at this, like Arnim Zola just doesn't really compare with these cards. You're right. We'll put it as a 3. There's gonna be a lot of 3s. Most cards in the game are 3. It's kind of like a bell curve in many ways. Well, it's like kind of like 5. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of 3s. Black Panther I also think is a 3. I think Black Panther sees some cool. Black Panther might be a 2. I mean, what's interesting, right, is because like you look at the Sandman ramp deck, it kind of has this package of Odin, Leader, Arnim Zola, Black Panther, Doom. It's this 5 card package. But that's kind of the only deck that we see Black Panther in. So there's an argument it's 2 as well. I think that ramp deck is always going to be pretty solidly good and find a way to really work. That 5 card package in ramp is just really, really strong. I might be overrating Black Panther for that reason. I think we'll look at it as a 2. I think it's starting to get outshined. As a 5-drop, it's just doesn't really hit it anymore. I think it's probably a 2. High 2 though. Black Widow, also a 2. Black Widow is a 2/1 that adds a Widow's Bite to your hand. The Widow's Bite stops your opponent from drawing. A lot of people were playing this in Ravona Darkhawk. I think they were kind of throwing. I think this card is just bad. I've went to bat for this a few times. I think Black Widow is just bad. Is what I've kind of come around to. You like taking up a board space is kind of bad for your opponent, but now we're in a world where Angela is everywhere. It's just Black Widow just doesn't seem to really do too much. Stopping 1 draw. What if she was a 2/2? She'd probably be closer to a 3, but still probably a 2. I would play her more in Darkhawk decks. I don't think Black Widow is very good. She's probably low 2, honestly. I think that most of the time, if you take Black Widow out of your deck and you add in like just a solid, powerfully statted 2-power tech card like a Mobius or an Armor, you're just better off, honestly. Blade 1/3. This card was a 1. But it recently got changed where it has some targeting, so it's definitely a 2 now. It definitely just kind of falls around discard. I don't think it fits into every Apocalypse deck. So I don't think it's on a 3 level of 3 like Apocalypse is. It's just a very sound card in discard decks, which I think are pretty solid. I haven't played around with the card as much. New Black Cat is a 1. She's a 4/9 now. Yep. Go ahead and put her in all your decks. I'm happy to take your cubes. Blade is a 1/3. It's still pretty good, but it's still kind of kicks you in the butt a little bit. Pretty good in Dak and decks. It's all right. Blade's just like solid in more like more aggressive discard decks or cards that are very discard focused. They run Blade, but Blade is still sometimes cut in those lists. 2-star card. Blue Marvel. Very solid card. It's seeing a lot of play right now. Blue Marvel's seeing a lot of play in these Brood lists. It's a King of Zoo. Blue Marvel might be a 4. Blue Marvel might be a 4. It's definitely a high 3. Blue Marvel's a really good card. You get a ton of value out of Blue Marvel. And if you have 8 other cards on the field, Blue Marvel's a 5/11 that spreads the whole field. Yeah, Blarvel. We love us a Blarvel. I'm going to go 4. I think Blarvel is just a card that you can consider in any deck that goes very wide. I really like this card. I really like Blue Marvel. It's a really, really solid card. Brood. 4 stars. Close to 5 stars. If Absman was still where it was, I think it would fall in 5 with Absman. Now that Absman got nerfed and pinged down, and the power level of that curve dropped by 3 points, I think Brood's a 4-star card. Incredibly powerful. This card was underrated for a really long time. I think it took people a long time to understand the power of Brood. I think it took a long time for people to understand how good Brood was. I think Shavas is the best card in the game, yeah. I think a Brood is really, really strong. With Forge now, especially after the Forge buff, Brood has become awesome. It's the card in every single Surfer deck. Kind of a very, very solid 4-star card. Bucky Barnes. You know what's crazy? People are cutting Bucky in a lot of destroy lists. It's crazy too. Because it's a card that you can ping down and gets you a 2/6. It's a 2-star card. This card used to be so good. Bucky used to be one of the best cards in the game. Back when the game first came out. Very, very strong pool 2 card. Used to be one of the very, very solid cards in like very early beta. Back when people were still figuring out the game. 2-star card though. It's just like the investment isn't that worth it. Getting 6 for 2 with investment needed isn't that good anymore. Cable? Oh yeah, this is going to be really, really controversial. Cable's 1-star card. There are too many better options than Cable. Cable is just outshined by Cable's just outshined by what the hell is her name? I was so excited for this card and she's not even that good. What the hell is the card I'm thinking of, chat? The card that's the same as her but gets +2. Mirage. Card just completely overshadowed by Mirage. Completely overshadowed by Mirage. You just run Mirage over over Cable all day. And I don't think that there's any way to... it's better than Mantis, but not by much. It might not even be better than Mantis, which is crazy. Alright, chat. Another controversial take. Captain America, 1-star card. I think this card's bad. This card is Ant-Man for 2 extra power and 2 extra energy. I think some people like Captain America. +2 energy, +2 power versus these two. This card's ass. Captain Marvel, which is now a 4/4. I might go 3. Captain Marvel might be a bit underplayed right now. As a 4/4, as a 4/5, it was a 5-star card. As a 4/5, Captain Marvel is a 5-star card. I think she's probably still a little underplayed. But at 4, it just feels really weak, right? The 5/6 Marvel is better than this. It's probably right. Maybe right. Maybe I will do 2. Because I never think about adding Captain Marvel to my decks. That's a lot of times. Yeah, well, you're right. We'll go 2. That makes more sense. Carnage. Carnage is an interesting card, right? It's a very gluey type card. No, Captain Marvel at 4-5 was too good. You know what they could do? They should make Captain Marvel like a 5-7, maybe. Captain Marvel's a 5-7, too good. What do you think is a 5-7? You think she's too good as a 5-7? Doesn't make Vision useless. Vision has other uses. I don't know. Captain Marvel's weird to balance because it's so weird, right? Like 4-5, she was arguably the best card in the game. Nah, she was always 5-6. Captain Marvel was always 5-6. Carnage might be 4. I think it's top of 3 though. I think Carnage is top of 3. The problem with Carnage, like 4, you kind of have to be the superstar. You kind of have to be a very good star in like the best decks or a card that you can put in anything. So Carnage at its core can't really go in as a 4-star role in my opinion. I think it's very top of 3. I don't think it's a 4-star. Cerebro. Cerebro's hard. I could say Cerebro's a 3-star card. You can argue it's 2. I'm sure there's plenty of people that would argue it's 2. Plenty of people would argue it's 2. I think it's 3. Maybe it's just because I'm a deck builder at my core, and Cerebro opens up Cerebro 2, 3, and 5. So Cerebro creates 3 decks on its own. So I think it's incredibly valuable. Cerebro's just very solid 3. It's somewhat close to 4, but there hasn't been a Cerebro deck that's been like a top deck in a while. Cerebro 3 was really good for a little bit in Loki, and then Loki found some counters to it. Loki adjusted to have some counters to Cerebro, and now it just doesn't feel like it beats Loki anymore. Cloak. Cloak's a 2-star card. This card might be underplayed a little bit. As a 2-4, it's just really good. 2-4 stats are quite good. The problem is it backfires a lot, and sometimes you just feel like you can't play the card. But it's kind of the epitome of a 2-star card. When move decks are good, it's good. Just a fun, cool card. 2-4s are good. Calling Wing. I kind of like Calling Wing, dude. I might put her as a 3, and that might be a little controversial, but I might put her as a 3. I think Calling Wing glues into a lot of different decks that you wouldn't really expect. Maybe not with Swarm not being around, but I feel like in like cool, good card style decks, she works with Dakin really well. She's a cool targeted discard that like does do some really cool things. You could try and work her into like Dracula type decks to try and thin out your hand. There's just so many things Calling Wing can do. I think you can absolutely argue she's 2, but I'm going to put her at 3 because I like what she can do. Colossus is 1. This card sucks ass. Never put this in your deck. Cosmo. Cosmo's a 4-star. Oh. Cosmo a 4-star card anymore? The problem with Cosmo is that it has 3 power instead of 4. If Cosmo was a 3-4, it would kind of very easily sit where it needs to be. Cosmo's kind of falling. Cosmo's just not on the power curve it needs to anymore. Cosmo just like, I feel like as the game is power creeping, people used to scream about nerfing Cosmo. People used to hate this card. It used to be in so many decks. And it's just really... I also agree that Cosmo doesn't need to be 3-4 get wrecked. I'm just saying, I don't think it's a 4-star card because it's a 3 power anymore. I don't think you can put Cosmo in any deck anymore. I don't think you can put Cosmo in any deck anymore, chat. I think if you're just slotting Cosmo into decks, you're just hurting. You're hurting yourself a lot, man. I think it's perfect where it is as a 3-3. It's a tech card that can sometimes go. I'm not going to put it as a 4. I'm going to put it as a 3. I think that if you just you can stuff armor into your deck because it's a 2-3. It's so premium statted. I don't think you could do that with Cosmo, man. I think it's at the very highest echelon of 3. I think it's very close to a 4. I don't think it gets over the top, man. I don't think it gets over the top. Crossbones. Okay, Crystal. Crystal's a 3-3. Crystal's a 3-3. that draws you a card and adds a card to your opponent's hand. I'm just kidding. I think Crossbones is 2. Lammy's trying Crossbones in a lot of lists that go for priority. I think it's kind of interesting. I do think Crossbones is underplayed, but I think Lammy's going to come around to the end thing where Crossbones, it limits you a little bit too much. I think Crossbones, in like my heart, it's more of a 3, but if I'm being honest with myself, it's probably closer to a 2. It's a very fun card to play around with, though. Crystal as a 3/3 is a really good card, but I think it sits again solidly as a 2. Crystal's really meta dependent. There's certain decks that really love to have something like Crystal. She's certainly not a 1, but I don't think she's close to a 3 by any means. Just play Jessica Jones. It also limits where you're playing a lot. Jessica Jones can backfire a lot against you. Crystal used to be dog shit as a 4/4 with both her abilities. As a 3/3, she's a very, very solid card. But she's an interesting addition to any kind of combo style deck. But combo style decks are just never going to be the best decks. Because decks that are just more consistent will usually crush them. Especially over the course of a conquest game. But Crystal is very solidly too. Solid card. Cyclops. Okay. I don't know how do I rate these? Cyclops is so interesting because you have to rate these both as Patriot cards and as high E cards. I guess you just look at it in all the decks that it's in. So you look at it in both. Cyclops is a 4-star card, man. Cyclops is an absolute killer. That was an absolute killer in those HE decks. I think the Hulk is the strongest card in that deck. Maybe. This is a damn strong card in those decks, man. This card's crazy. Rate them separately. I mean, the Cyclops one would just be like a 1 because you'd never even run Cyclops and Patriot. This is close to a 5 right now, but I think it's a 4. Dagger. Controversial. I think it's a 1-star card, man. No, we'll call... it's hard. Dagger's got some... Yeah, you forgot she's in the game, right? No one plays Crystal. Or no one plays Dagger. She might be a 2... No, dude, because, like, why would you put her in a move deck? Why would you ever put her in a move deck? It's so hard to fit her into a move deck. I could put her as a 1. She's not lol. She's just a 1. Very situationally, you'll find her in a move deck, but she's not, like, kind of meta dependent. She's just bad, dude. Dagger's just bad. Daredevil. I'd say Daredevil's a 4-star card. This card's crazy good. This card's so good, dude. I played Daredevil in decks that don't have Professor X in it, and people always freak out. This card is just so good, dude. Knowing what your opponent's going to play on turn 5 is so good, man. People underplay. This might be the most underplayed card in the game. I would argue that Daredevil, from a power level perspective, is the most underplayed card in the entire game. You can put Daredevil in any deck and it's fine. This card is so freaking good. This card is so freaking good, chat. Put Daredevil in your decks more. Darkhawk. Oh, man. I'm gonna say 4. Darkhawk, based on the meta, is pushed closer to 3 right now, but that's just because Zabu's pulled down. From a power level perspective, Darkhawk is still a 4 power card. There were times when Darkhawk was a 5. Darkhawk right now is a solid 4. It's just too good of a card to not be a 4. It's just a very, very solid 4-cost option. The support cards that you play it with, the Rockslide and the Korg, are just fine cards for disruption. And each of them gets so much better as you add to the Darkhawk. I don't think he's a 3 right now. I think he's still a 4. I think he's still a 4. Right now. Even without Zabu, I think like cards of that. He's just such a powerful card. Like a Darkhawk package can fit into so many decks. I really like Darkhawk. I think he's a 4. Dazzler. 1 star. Card's bad. It's not a 4/4 anymore. What the hell? This card was a 4/4? What the hell did this card used to say? +4? What the fuck? What the hell? What the hell did Dazzler used to say when it was a 4/4? Was Dazzler +4, +6? This card sucks, dude. This card got buffed so much. I think it became 10. I think it became 10 get wrecked. I also didn't remember, which is how bad it was. Even as a 3/2, I think this card sucks. I think that Dazzler's such copium. I think if you're putting Dazzler in your deck, you're coping. I think this card sucks. Deadpool's a 3-star card. Very solid destroy card. Very solid destroy card. Interesting because like it's kind of like an archetype of destroy. But a very powerful card on its own. It's like a really, really cool engine that you can go into. It might start to continue to fall out of favor, but people are still playing quite a bit of it right now. Death, man, dude. Death has just been. Death was a 5-star card for a while, man. Death was so good. Death was a 5-star card for a while, man. Yeah, Death is another card completely invalidated by Mobius. Free 12 points is not good. Who's gonna tell him? It's tough, man. It's still probably a 3. Still probably a 3. Very low 3. I almost put it at a 2, which is so sad, man. That is such a cool card. That is a really cool card. Yeah, literally unplayable by a single card. I hate Mobius. Deathlok, 2 stars. The worst of the destroy cards. Worse than Carnage and Venom. You'll always put Carnage and Venom in your deck before Deathlok. Situational and 2 stars because it'll fit into very, very core destroy decks. I think Deathlok's pretty bad though. It's just in there because it's one of the only cards that does what it does. If there's any other card ever that does destroy things, it'll almost guarantee take over Deathlok's spot, and this card might eventually move to 1. It's just, I don't know, 3/5 with a huge downside, and something that's scary like that could be really bad. Debris. Debris is really interesting. Debris fits into a lot of different decks. She fits into junk. She's a really cool power level card. She does some crazy stuff. She adds 4 cards to the board. I think from a power level perspective, I'll put her at a 3. As far as play rate, she looks more like a 2, but just from like a pure power level perspective and how many decks you can kind of like consider her in, I think she's like a 3. I would love to see Deathlok be a 3/6. With Venom going to 3/3, I think Deathlok does need to change. Yeah, Junk, Patriot. Lots of cool things Debris does. She's some people just use her as a Galactus counter. I like Debris. I think from a power level, she does a lot of really crazy stuff for her stat line and cost. Very cool card. 3 cost. Destroyer. 2-star card. Destroyer scenes fringe play and Spectrum Destroyer decks, which, like I mentioned before, have just kind of gotten power crept and just aren't really good enough anymore. I've tried ongoing Destroyer decks. They're fun. They're just gotten power crept. Okay in these like Shuri, Nimrod style decks. Interesting choice there. Yeah, this card had to get nerfed from a 6/16. This should get unnerfed. They should unnerf this for sure. 2-star card. Devil Dinosaur. What an awesome card. We're so lucky to have cards like Devil Dinosaur and Snap. 4 stars. Not meta defining. There's been times where Dinosaur has been 5. There's been times when Devil Dinosaur has been 5. Right now it's 4. Really good card. Fits in ramp. Fits in a lot of. I actually think Devil Dinosaur in most Loki decks is not correct in the mirror. I think you get crushed, and also you usually want a Loki before 5. I personally don't really like it in Loki decks that much. Maybe that's why I'm jaded to not put it as a 5, because I think that it's not as good in Loki decks, especially because you just get crushed in the mirror if you have Dinosaur and your opponent doesn't. Oh, I'm not listing them in order. I'm not listing them in order, by the way. I'm not saying like this is the worst 4 and this is the best 4. They're just 4 stars. Maybe at the end we'll adjust some order and stuff. But Devil Dinosaur is very high. I would if I was going to say that, I would probably put it at the very top of 4. I think it might be 5. It's interesting. We'll see. If there's not too many 5s by the end, I'll think about putting Devil Dinosaur up. Dr. Octopus, 2-star card. There's some really cool Dr. Octopus Ghost Spider decks that you can still try and use. Really cool Doc Ock Ghost Spider type decks. Randomly generated Dr. Octopuses are awesome. I had one yesterday that was just soul crushing to my opponent. The problem with Doc Ock now is that Alioth exists. So like it used to be Doc Ock always pulls Shang-Chi. Now Doc Ock always pulls Alioth, which is really funny. I still think it's a 2-star card though. Really high power level card, insane disruption card. I kind of want to play a Doc Ock junk Ghost Spider deck. I might play that later today. That sounds fun. I haven't touched Doc Ock in a while. But yeah, Doc Ock always pulls Alioth and Shang-Chi now. 2 stars though. It just shoots you in the foot too many times. Too inconsistent for certain things. Certain decks you just Doc Ock and then you just lose. It's pretty tough. Doctor Strange. Oof. Oof, 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 oof. 1 star. It's just outclassed. Doc Ock's just outclassed now. Ghost Spider kind of made this card irrelevant. Before Ghost Spider, this is definitely a 2. Easily a 2 before Ghost Spider. Now with Ghost Spider there, just no reason to really run this card. This card used to be a 3-2. It sucked even worse. Domino. 1 star. This would be in LOL tier if Agatha didn't exist. Legitimately. This would be 1 star if Agatha didn't exist. This would be terrible. The only deck it's ever good for is an Agatha because Agatha is such a unique and interesting way that you have to play that deck. Domino gets to 2, but it's actually the very bottom of 2. Chat, you think this is a LOL card? I won an Infinite Conquest with this in my deck yesterday. So try winning a freaking Infinite Conquest with Angel. I dare you. Dracula. If Agatha didn't exist, this is LOL all day, 100%. Don't put this in any deck outside of Agatha, but it actually helps Agatha quite a bit. Dracula's interesting. It's at least 3. It might be 4. Dracula's a really cool card. Really cool card in Marvel set. People wanted to get rid of this card for a while. People wanted to nerf it. There were times when Dracula annoyed the shit out of people. This was a long time ago, but people used to call for this card to get nerfed. Close to a 4. I like that. I think that there's some cool decks you can do outside of just pure discard lists. I like it in Dracula dump style decks. I think those decks are probably a little bit underrated. There might be some like okay Dracula dump style deck that's like a tier 4 style deck that like no one's really playing right now. I think you could probably find one. The biggest problem with Dracula right now, well, the biggest problem was when Galactus Alioth, at least the last time I played it, Galactus Alioth made Dracula feel really bad. Lady Deathstrike, lol. If you're countering Dracula by playing Lady Deathstrike in your deck, you've countered your own deck by putting one of the worst cards in the game. Drax, which is now a 4/6. 1 star. Maybe 2. I think it's LOL. It could still be a 4/8. Back when it was a 4/4 that gave +4, LOL all day. Now that it's a 4/6 that gives +2, it's like a reasonable card. Drax is the worst Guardian. Probably. I think Groot is maybe worse. Groot maybe worse. Groot and Drax are kind of at the same level. Definitely 1 star though. Definitely 1 star. Doctor Doom. You already know. 5-star card. This is the card that all their cards should be balanced around. Every other card in the game should be balanced around Doctor Doom. I've always thought that Doctor Doom should be the pinnacle balance around this card, in my opinion. Very strong, powerful 6-drop. You have to invest your entire turn into playing it. 5 power in every location. This card was criminally underplayed for months, chat. For so long, people didn't realize how good this card was. It was crazy. 5-star card, wonderful card. Beautiful design, and it's really funny because if you guys don't know, in Hearthstone, where Ben Brode helped create the game of Hearthstone. Ben Brode was created a card in Hearthstone called Dr. Boom, which was a joke on Dr. Doom. And then Ben Brode went on to make a Marvel game, and then he made Dr. Boom a play on Dr. Doom a play on Dr. Boom. It's so funny how it ended up working out. He basically built Dr. Doom around Dr. Boom that was built around and with the idea of Dr. Doom in mind. Really funny. Really, really funny. Yeah, as a 5/4, it's actually was still close to a 4-star card as a 5/4, or as a with 4-power Doombots, which is crazy. Yeah, it's really funny how Dr. Boom was based on Dr. Doom, and now Dr. Doom is based on Dr. Boom. Very funny. Ebony Maw. Dude, this is tough because Ebony Maw sucks ass except for Sauron decks, but it's really good in Sauron decks. This is a 3-star card. This card really needs support. Before Sauron existed, this was a 1-star. Now that Sauron's around, being able to play a 1/7 on the final turn is really strong. That, if you guys haven't played or played against that Shuri Sauron deck much, that deck is really good. Arguably like the best or second best conquest deck, or the top 3 conquest deck, and this card is a star in it. So I don't think you can put it anywhere under 3. It's in one of the best decks in the game. I don't think you can reasonably say this is less than a 3, being a important player in one of the best decks in the game. Electro, 3 stars. 3 stars. Electro's very, very strong. Electro's very, very strong. It opens up ramp archetypes. It opens up Galactus decks. It's a very, very solid card. I think they got this right on the nose as being a 3/2. This is a 3/3 would be scary, and people would probably want to play ramp more. Electro might be a 4. That's actually a really good point. I like it as a 3, but I think that it needs so much support that I don't think I could put it as a 4. It's not a card you ever think about putting into many decks. It's not a star of any of the best decks in the game. It's just a star in a lot of good decks. I think it's very solidly a 3-star card. Very good 3-star card though, definitely towards the top. Elektra, ooh, man. I'll put her at 1. Just play Killmonger, forehead. I don't want to put her in lull because there's a reason to run her with things like a Ka-Zar, a very aggressive Ka-Zar Sue style deck. There's reasons to run her in that kind of deck because you can't run Killmonger in that deck. So I don't think I can put her in lull because there is an argument to find a way to put her in certain decks. Whereas Angel and Baron Mordo, you're throwing if you just put these in your deck. That's what the 1-star. It's like there you can have an argument to put it in like a shitty deck. These you should just never put in your deck you're throwing. So I'll put it as a 1. Enchantress, 3 stars. Definitely not a 4-star card. As a 4/6, she was a 5-star card, I think. As a 4/6, she was crazy. As a 4/4, she was a 2-star. I think as a 4/5 where she's at now, which I think is where she should be. She was crazy as a 4/6. You should have thrown. She's an every deck kind of card as a 4/6. 4/6 is such a good stat line, man. Yeah, just use Killmonger for it. I think she's a 3-star card as a 4/5, and I think that's where she should be. I think she should be a 4/5. I think that's the best spot for her. I think they found the right spot for her. Kind of outshined by Rogue sometimes, but just a solid card. Find some work in Cerebro 5. Interesting. I think as a 4/5, it's where she should be. I think tech card should be balanced like in that level. Falcon, 2 stars. I think Falcon was overplayed and bounceless. I think Beast is just so much better. Can be fine in some really aggressive bouncy type decks, but Falcon always felt bad. Forge. Is Forge a 5-star card? It's definitely a 4. There's no argument that it's a 4. I think Forge might be a 5-star card. Forge is crazy. Yeah, Old Forge 2, New Forge maybe 5. I'm gonna put it in 5. No, now I'm looking at Double Dinosaur. I don't know if I could put it above Double Dinosaur. But can't I though? Or it's nuts. No, we'll put it at the very top of 4. He's always at least a 2-5. I mean, that's just not true. He's always at least a 2-4. He might be a 5. We'll look at the top. These two, but both Double Dinosaur and Forge are really close to being 5s. So we'll see what happens towards the end of the list. We'll adjust. Galactus, which is now a 6-5. I think it's still 3 stars. I think as a 6-7, I think it was a 4 maybe. I don't think Galactus was ever a 5-star card in my opinion. I think he's a 3. We'll have to see. I don't know. Even as a 6-2, I don't think it was a 5-star card. I think Galactus was not as good as people thought it was. I think it was just overplayed because it was easy to play in many ways. But I don't think it was ever the best deck. I don't even think it was ever close to the best deck. It was just the most played deck, and it was a deck that people hated. I'll put it as a 3 now, as a 6-5. I don't know. I haven't really... it's hard. It's really hard. I haven't played around with 6-5 Galactus yet. So I have a hard time rating this one. I'll put it as a 3 now. Some people are saying 2. A lot of people are saying 2. You might be right. I don't know. I haven't played around with the new version of it. When I play against it, I've gotten crushed by it a few times though. Gambit is a 3-3, is a pretty solid 2-star card. Fun card. Pretty good power levels at 3-3 that destroys. There's not many cards that can destroy your opponent's cards outside of Killmonger and Elektra that have win condition or like specific conditions. It's one of the only conditionless destroy cards for your opponent. Very solid, 2 stars. Gamora. Gamora's 3 stars. Gamora's a very high power level card, man. Or, yeah, as a 3-1, the card was a 1. The card was trash as a 3-1. As a 3-3, it's like a 2. You can think about it. Gamora's a 3-star. I'm almost thinking Gamora's close to a 4-star, but it's just as a 5, she's a little bit worse. I had so much fun playing Gamora in that Agatha deck yesterday. I had a lot of fun with Gamora. And she's a very solid 3-star card. She should be in more decks, I think. I think she's underplayed. I think she's underplayed right now. I think she's the best Guardian by a lot. I think Gamora... Oh, unless you count Nebula, which I don't count as a Guardian. Nebula's a 5-star card in my opinion, when we get to her. Ghost. Put this in your deck you're throwing. Ghost Rider. Don't play Ghost decks. This card sucks. Snap whenever... And if you see any of these cards, ever snap. These cards suck. Ghost Rider, 3 stars. Very solid card. Close to a 2. Close to a 2. Ghost Rider's close to a 2. Low 3. But can do a lot of really good things. Really interesting card. High power level card. Really cool card. Jiggy 1. Fringe play and Hela decks. The restriction's too much. This card could use a buff. Restriction's just too much. I think they should make Jiggy maybe... I think they should either give it a little more power or loosen the restriction. Like 615 Jiggy sometimes is something you'd consider. 614, it's just in Fringe Hela decks. That's it. Goose. 2 stars. Controversial. I hate this card. I hate playing this in my deck. I think I hate this card. I will never put this card in my deck because it will hurt me more than my opponent. People saying 3, you might be right. For me, it's a 2-star card. I will never put it in a deck ever. It's close to a 1-star card for me, but I can't put it as a 1-star card. I'll call it a 2. Green Goblin. Very interesting card. Very good power level. Goblin's a 3. Very solid 3. Very good card. Very good card. If they change Mobius and his play rate goes down, and Ravonna maybe gets some stonks, because maybe Loki gets adjusted too. Green Goblin Ravonna decks might see some like tier 4 level play. But I think it's a 3-star card. Very good card. I love Green Goblin. Groot, 1 stars. Easy. Hawkeye. Hawkeye's a 1/4. Hawkeye might be underplayed. Why armor over Cosmo? Because it's better and in more decks. Is Hawkeye underplayed? I'll put it at 2. Previously, definitely 1. As a 1/4, it's probably a 2 now. It might be underplayed. People just aren't used to the card. It'd be a very low 2, but I don't think it's a 1. I think it's so much higher power level than every card I'm looking at 1. I don't think I can put it at 1. Hazmat, also a 2-star card. Close to 3. A lot of junk decks just don't even use Hazmat anymore. The biggest problem with Hazmat is that you need a 2-card combo to use it. Biggest problem with Hazmat is that you need a 2-card combo to utilize it, which is the big problem. So you need Luke Cage to have Hazmat work at all, basically. But it's a 2. It's a really good power level card. I mean, as a 2/2, as a 2/1, it was a 1 for sure. As a 2/2, it's just like solidly statted. You can sometimes just tempo out Hazmat if your opponent plays like 2 cards and just play it as a 2/4. It's kind of fine. I don't think it's a 1 at all as a 2/2. As a 2/2, it's a 2. Heimdall! Controversial. 3 stars. Underplayed. Underplayed card. High power level. Big cube swinger. You guys can absolutely say it should be a 2. That's completely fine. I think Heimdall is so good. I think it's underplayed. I think it's a very surprising, interesting 6 power card. Or 6 cost card. I love Heimdall. 3 stars. Hela. Also 3 stars. Hela's close to 4. But 3. I don't think I can call it 4. Hela's a 3-star card. The star of the deck. Hela came a lot back. Hela came back a lot with the Tribunal decks, which is really cool. Hela was kind of in a really bad spot for a while, and then now the Tribunal exists, and you can kind of do this really cool combo where you can either do Hela or you can do Tribunal. Definitely moved up as a very solid 3 power card. You can climb, you can get to infinite with Hela. You could win an infinite ticket with Hela. In Conquest, you might have to run Echo in those decks, but I don't know. I don't know. You might, to win like an infinite Conquest with Hela, you might need Echo, which sucks. But, the biggest problem with Hela right now is Spider-Man. Before Spider-Man got changed, I guess old Spider-Man was still bad for it, but Spider-Man really hurts Hela now. Spider-Man's like everywhere. Yeah, Eliath also messes with her. I still think she's solidly 3. Her power level is just so high. Helicarrier. Card sucks. Hellcow. 2. Borderline 1. No, the most discard decks will run Hellcow. It's on the same level as Blade. Like, most discard decks will either run like Blade or Hellcow, right? Like, kind of one of the two. Low 2. Not a 1, though. I can't see Hellcow as being a 1. Chat, did you guys know this used to cost 2 energy and have the exact same effect? Hellcow is just worse MODOK, but it gives you, when you don't draw MODOK, it can give you a chance. I mean, I don't know. Rupu's saying it, so maybe they're right, but I'll go with my gut. Hobgoblin. I want to put it at 3 because I've had a lot of love with Hobgoblin, especially recently with MODOK or with Ravonna. Hobgoblin's probably just a 2 though. Too high of a commitment in many ways. Does find its way into some very purist Galactus decks, but Galactus took a big hit recently. Hobgoblin's a very solid 2. Hood! Interesting. That's probably a 2. Forecast Hob would go hard. Forecast Hob would be broken, dude. I think the Ravona and the Hobgoblin is so crazy. That's the only reason that yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe Hood is a 3. No, Hood's a 3. You're right. Hood does a lot of things. Hood does a lot of things. I think you're right. I think Hood should be a 3. You're right. The power level is crazy. It works in the junk decks with Viper. I probably wasn't thinking about the junk decks. It's a very good junk deck card. Kind of the reason the junk deck card the junk deck exists is because of Hood. Probably underplayed in some destroy lists too. That's a cool card. We'll go 3. Hulk. Might be 5, man. That HE deck, the whole reason that works is because of the Hulk, man. The whole reason that HE decks is because of the Hulk. The Hulk is just an absolute monster in that deck. Like I said, I mean, these two, Forge and Devil Dinosaur, are on the brink. Hulk is the absolute star of that HE deck right now. And you can argue that HE should be up there instead of Hulk, but yeah, pre-nerf Hulk is absolutely a 5. This is very close. I'm gonna keep it there right now, though. Hulkbuster, now a 3-5 instead of a 3-4. As a 3-5, it's probably a 3. I underplay the card. I don't use this card. I don't think I've ever run a deck with 3-5 Hulkbuster. So I think most people would say it's a 3. I don't really have too much of an opinion on it. I think the kitty nerf hurt this a lot because Hulkbuster was, I feel like, has gotten cut a lot now that people don't do the kitty Shuri things anymore. We'll go 3 though. Human Torch, 2 stars. There's an argument Human Torch in that Phoenix Force deck because that Phoenix Force deck is so good. But it Human Torch kind of feels like it's in that deck just because it needs to be in a weird way. Human Torch feels like the worst card in that deck though, right? I feel like Human Torch is the worst card in that Phoenix Force deck by kind of a lot. Human Torch is literally just there because like you need a backup plan to multiple man. Oh, what's up, Pat? I would say that I'd say Human Torch is a 2. It's by far the worst card in that deck, I think, by like a lot. It's meta dependent because it can be very good when Killmonger is completely out of the meta. Like it's okay now because there's much less Killmonger. But I think it's a 2. I think it might be the only 2-star card in that whole deck. But it is the 2-star card in that deck, in my opinion. Iceman! I think it's 4. I think I'm going to move it to 4. I'm going to put it at 4. This card can go in any deck. Absolutely any deck can have Iceman slot in. Yeah, people are talking about Mobius, actually. That's quite a good point. But if you Iceman the Mobius on 1... maybe you're right. We'll put it in 3. You're right. If Mobius didn't exist, this is a 4 all day. Now it's a 3. Now it's really hard to add it in the deck. You're right. That's tough. Infinite. 2 stars. Just overshadowed by HE Hulk. There's still some with Infinite, there's still some decks that try and go like magic skip. There's still some decks that try and go magic skip Infinite She-Hulk if they don't have room for HE. I've run a couple decks that I think are very solid with it. But I think it just gets so overshined by HE. It's hard, and it's very meta-dependent card. Super meta-dependent card. HE Hulk just kind of outshines this, which is tough. We'll be better with Ebony Blade, I think. I think Ebony Blade is cool, man. I'm really excited for Ebony Blade. Yeah, She-Hulk, yeah, that whole She-Hulk deck is rough though right now with Mobius, right? I hate that card so much. I hate Mobius so much, dude. I freaking hate Mobius, dude. Oh, God, I hate that card so much. 2 stars, really cool. Still sees Fringe play in Hela. Still sees Fringe play in some pass type stuff. Very meta dependent card. Sometimes goes as high as 3 in certain metas, but 4. Invisible Woman is a 2/3. At least a 3. I don't think it's a 4. Close, very good card though. Invisible Woman is a 2/3 is so good. Invisible Woman just kind of falls in the very same bucket. Invisible Woman falls into a very interesting bucket of like armor, Mobius, Invisible One, where it's just a premium statted 2 cost that fits into a lot of things. Very good card. 3 stars. High 3. Very good. Mobius haters equals Loki enjoyers. No, that's not it. And that pisses me off so bad. I hate Mobius because he invalidates so many cards. It's not about Loki. I like that he keeps Loki in check. It's the fact that Negative is dead. It's the fact that Spider-Ham is dead. It's the fact that Death is dead. It's the fact that She-Hulk is dead. It's the fact that dozens of cards that can be cool things that you can add into decks and do cool things are all dead because this card exists and it's premium stat and you don't have to pay anything to play it. Leech is completely different, and if you're comparing Leech and Mobius, you don't know how Marvel Snap works. Sorry, I don't mean to be. See you next Tuesday. Iron Fist. Actually, interestingly, Iron Fist might also be a 2, but it could be a 3. I also don't like Mobius and Loki. I agree. Apologize, please. No. If you don't think that they're the same, then I wasn't talking to you. But if you think they're the same, then I was talking to you. Iron Fist might be the other 2 in that deck. They both invalidate a whole deck in one go. Do you realize the investment cost of Leech compared to Mobius, though? With Leech, you have to play a 5/3, and you invalidate your entire turn. Mobius, you just play it. That's the difference, and that's why they're not comparable at all. Iron Fist might be a 2, very high 2. I think Iron Fist is a 2. I lied. There is a second 2 power card. Iron Fist is the second worst card in the Human Torch deck, but I think it's the best. Close to a 3 though. Ironheart, 2 stars. Pretty good in some combo-y Surfer decks. Was good in Negative when that deck existed. You're arguing for the sake of arguing. Okay, Loggins, I implore you. I implore you to look inward with what you just said, that I am arguing for the sake of arguing. I implore you to look inwards. I absolutely implore you to just take a second and breathe and look inwards, my dude. I implore you. You'll feel better about it. I promise you. Ironheart's just a 2-star. Kind of works with some on reveal type Surfer decks. Flips some negative cards. In Negative when Negative is good. Definitely a 2-star card. Iron Man. This is a really cool card. This is a very well-balanced card in the game. Iron Man's a 4-star card. I don't know if it's high. I don't know if it's like on, I think it's probably right behind like Blue Mar. If I was to like rank these, it'd be kind of like around here. Just a very solid, this card has been the exact same, and it's been in, this is just like a starter card, right? This is in the starter deck, right? Iron Man's a really, really cool card. Iron Man's a really, really cool card in the game. I think that it's they found the perfect spot for it to be. As a 5/0, and I think it just works really, really well. I don't think it's ever really overpowered. It's a huge investment to double location. It's a really, really solid, very solid 4-star card. Cards like Iron Man need to exist in the game, and he does a very good spot. Blue Marvel also, like, it feels very similar to where Iron Man is at. Blue Marvel might be a little worse than Iron Man, because it's less open to what it can fit into. Iron Man's just so good. It does something so cool. Jane Foster, 3 stars. Jane Foster was a bit of a meme, but and like Lockjaw list, Jane Foster is just very, very solid, very well statted as a 5/8. Why is Blarvel a 4? It fits into a bunch of different decks. It's in like the Patriot Brood deck. That's one of the best decks in the game right now. That's probably pretty underplayed. Just fits into a bunch of different things. Just a wonderful, wonderful tool. You can fit into tons of decks. That's why it's 5 stars. Super high power level, very flexible, very good card. Jane Foster. Really well statted, works really well with Thor, works really well in any kind of Lockjaw style list. Kind of the epitome of a 3-star card. Just good stats, does good things in the decks that it's good in, isn't the star of any deck, but it's just a very, very solid and necessary piece in some tier 2 and tier 3 decks. Very, very solid. Jessica Jones. She a 1? I think she's a 1. There's just too many better ways to follow up Storm now. Back when she was one of the best Storm follow-ups, she was probably a 2, close to a 3. Now there's just so many better ways. There's just so many better ways to win Storm lanes than her. I think she's a 1. Very fringe decks, or if you're missing cards, you can slot Jessica Jones in, but she almost never makes the cut in any competitive deck or like semi-competitive deck. I don't think she's a 2. Do you ever consider Jessica Jones in any of your decks? Jubilee, 3 stars. Very good card. Jubilee's another very well-balanced card. It's a very good gluey type card. Very similar to Jessica Jones, I feel like, how I feel like about Jubilee. Does really good things, very important in the decks that she's good in. Helps thin decks. Great card. Juggernaut. Easily 3. Honestly, weirdly enough, kind of close to 4. Another card, like Daredevil, one of the most underused card in the whole game. Like, even without having Storm in your deck, Juggernaut's just like a crazy surprise card. There's an argument to put it in 4. I think I'll put it in 3 because I underuse it too. I think I would argue that there's a chance that you could put it into I think there's definitely an argument that you could put it into 4 stars, but personally I know I don't use it enough. It's a really good surprise card. It's a cube monster, dude. This card steals cubes like a maniac, especially on ladder. And Conquest, it becomes a little bit harder, but in Conquest it's also cool because your opponent has to play around it, which is great. I think it's top of 3. I wouldn't consider it a 4. Kang, 1. Close to, I almost put it in lull. The only reason that you would run Kang in your deck, there is a reason to run Kang, chat. The only reason you would run Kang is if you are a magic deck. Magic decks can find a use for Kang. And I think that people don't utilize this. Now, magic decks are really on the decline because of Snowguard. And because Snowguard is such an easy card to still put into a lot of decks. Kang is really, really solid in magic decks because A, Kang could be a draw tool for you if you play it on turn 5, 6, or 7. So if you draw Kang on 5, 6, or 7, you play Kang, you draw a card. That's the biggest reason to run Kang, I think. The other big reason to run Kang if you're a magic deck is because on turn 6, you can check to see if your opponent's going to turn off your magic, which is a very important thing to do. There's a reason to use Kang, very rare, very niche. But like I said, LOL are cards that I think you're just throwing if you have them in your deck. Kang, there's a reason. If Kang always drew a card, would be OP. Yes, you'd put it in every single deck, and if you didn't, you'd be throwing. It'd be the strongest card in the game. It would be a 6-star card. You can find a reason to use Kang. Now, I agree, it's very close to LOL. There's very niche decks, but there is a reason to use Kang in your deck. Yeah, 4-0 I think would maybe be fine. I want Kang to be a 3-0 that says you can't play him on turn 6. So kind of similar to your idea, but even an additional draw earlier. But you can't play him on turn 6 because Kang snaps happen. Now, does that invalidate the whole reason that I want him? In decks right now, yes. And the more I think about it, maybe I don't want that change. But I think as a draw tool, you can maybe make him. Maybe it's just as a 4-0 would be fine. Glenn has said on Discord that, or Glenn has said, I think on Twitter or Discord, that the reason that Kang introduces so many bugs to the game that they don't really want to improve him yet because he breaks the game in so many ways, which is kind of funny. Ka-Zar, 2 stars. Fine in Zudex. Zudex fine in appearance when Killmonger's gone. Fine card. Pretty good where he's at. It could probably go back to 4-5. They should change Ka-Zar back to 4-5. What do you guys think? I think you should absolutely put Ka-Zar back at 4-5. Any thoughts on that? It used to be a 4-5. It got nerfed. They should change Ka-Zar to a 4-5. I think it's okay for Ka-Zar to be good. One drop decks are in a lot of trouble. They need help. Hi. Yeah, it's the AC work. Sweating. Yeah, that would actually be great. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think you should go back to a 4-5. But he's still a 2. You still use him. You still use him in 1-drop decks. Killmonger, 4 stars. 4-star card. Wonderful card. Absolutely incredible card. Invalidates a lot of decks. A important kind of lever in the Marvel Snap. It's kind of meta in general. Kang, super powerful, or Killmonger, super powerful. Really wonderful. 4 stars. I don't think Killmonger is very meta dependent. I think Killmonger is unbelievably on a singular card. The power level of Kang is, or the power level of Killmonger is insane. I think putting him under 4 is crazy. Killmonger's so powerful. Kingpin, 1. It's never really good. There's a joke that I always say about Kingpin. I wouldn't change Killmonger. I think Killmonger's fine. I think he's an important card in the deck. 2 with arrow. Nope. I should probably change out of a hoodie. That's wonderful. Yes. Let me see. Chat, can you hear that when I talk? I don't think it's loud. Can you put the level down 1? Thank you. Can you hear that when I talk, or is it not too bad? Dave, you're glowing.
I'm in this. Oh God.
What did you think? That being directly behind the camera, you wouldn't be? Why are you hiding? You're so pretty. No, you're so pretty. This card sucks. He's the worst card in every deck. Everyone in chat saying you're pretty. Like hot tea? Yeah, that'd be wonderful. Oolong, yeah. Just straight. Thank you so much, baby. I love you. Kingpin's the worst card in every deck you put in him. He's close to LOL, but he's a 3-4. He's premium statted. There's a reason to find ways to put him into decks, and you can do some cool stuff with him, but definitely not a 2. Kitty Pride as a 1-0. She might still be a 5, man. Dude, she might still be a 5, chat. People are saying 3 are way off, dude. I think she might still be a 5, man. Maybe a 4. Kitty's still insane. Like, Kitty's not good because of her stat line. The only thing that going from 1-0 really changed with Kitty is it lowers, honestly, the power level of those decks by 2 power, which is hard. But Kitty was just played to trigger Angela and Silk, essentially. She's an Angela Silk card. I'll put her at 4. Well, the Kitty Shuri deck just doesn't really exist anymore, right? It pretty much just invalidated the whole deck. It took 8 power from that deck when you go down the Kitty task line, which is too much. Yeah, Rupu. I think that deck is pretty much dead. I haven't seen that deck since. I've seen her still in those decks, but not as the thing that you multiply. Yeah, I think that there's just better ways to play Shuri now, and people are finding it. We'll keep her as 4. She might be a 5 though. Keep her as 4 though. Claw, 3 stars. Underplayed. Another insanely underplayed card. Claw is crazy underplayed. 10 power across 2 lanes. Surprise factor. Attack lanes you can't get into. Super good card. Another very, very underplayed card. I think it's because of the Evolved Hulk Cannibal, and I think Evolved Hulk is a 5, personally. Noel! 3 stars. Noel's really good. Destroy decks are not in the best spot right now. I think saying that Evolved Hulk is a 4 is a completely fine thing to say. I don't think it's a 4-star card. I think Noel is the fact that it costs 6 is really hard. I don't think to be a 4-star card, chat, you kind of have to be a card. You can put this in almost any deck and it's very strong, or it has to be the stars, or it has to be like a star of one of the best decks in the game. That's why there's so much less 4s than 3s. I don't think Noel breaks the threshold. It's a good 3-star, but I don't think it's close to get. I don't even think it's. I think a lot of these cards are better than them in 3-star. No, I don't think Noel's win more necessarily, but it's one of the better cards in some like tier 3 decks. I think that puts it as a 3, in my opinion. Alioth is way better than Noel. In my opinion, I think Alioth is a 5-star card. I think the meta is kind of wrapped around Alioth right now, which is crazy. I didn't think Alioth. I originally thought Alioth was gonna be so good, and then after Loki came out, like everything kind of changed, and then I don't know. And then Alioth is now, it just seems really good. Alioth is maybe 4 though. I don't know. It's 4 or 5. Korg, 3 stars. 3 stars. The Darkhawk package is still pretty good. Probably quite underplayed right now. I think the Darkhawk package is probably a bit underplayed. I think Korg is just a really great card. Even just like without Darkhawk, sometimes it's just an okay 1-drop. Now there's plenty of 1-drops that are better than it, but I think it's definitely a 3. Very solid 3-star card. Premium set of 1-drop, helps your Darkhawk, gives you a little disruption. Really solid. Yeah, Life was data minus a 5/5, which is insane. Kraven! 4 stars. Kraven used to be one of the worst cards in the game. It used to give only 1 for every card that moved there. They changed it to 2, and then for a while, Kraven wasn't that good. Kraven's a really, really good card. In very, very good in those kind of movement decks. Kraven's just very, very solid. Fits in a lot of decks that do any kind of like movement type things. Yeah, Silk Kraven, just really, really, really good. Kraven's just a great card. Super low investment to play out a Kraven. Moving cards over there. If your opponent's moving cards, your Kraven gets better. Spider-Man really helped Kraven. Playing Kraven into Spider-Man, pulling 2 cards on a Kraven gets you a 2/6 and a 3/5 and disruption. Crazy line there. The mean Canadian, because it's like Canadian. Thank you for the sub. Appreciate it. Yeah, and Jeff's in pretty much every deck, right? And like if you play Kraven, your opponent plays Jeff off the Kraven lane on the same turn. It's like, okay, well now you have one spot to move it, or the Jeff basically only gets you one power when you move it. Crazy stuff. Lady Sif, now with 3-5. Three stars. A more Lady Sif, especially with like Ebony Blade coming soon. There's Lady Sif Ghost Rider combos. As a 3-5, she's just really good. She's probably a bit underplayed. It's very, very strong, solid card, targeted discard, really good 3-drop slot. Really good card. This card used to be a 2-4. It was cracked. This used to be a 2-4. This used to be a 3-3. Crazy combo. On turn 5, you could play Lady Sif and Ghost Rider. Oh my gosh, dude, it's wild. Leader is a 6-2. 3 stars. Underplayed right now. Leader's super, super underplayed right now. Leader's an insane Goliath counter. Leader is an insane Goliath counter. If you think your opponent's going to Goliath and you Leader on an off lane, you get their Goliath and your Goliath destroys their Goliath. Crazy. I think Leader's really underplayed right now. I think it's a really good top end to certain decks. He was a 6-7. He had a completely different effect that sucked ass. Yeah, ramp decks. He's a star of ramp decks. Absolutely wonderful. Underplayed. Very good right now. Try Leader in your decks as a top end. It's fun. Leech. Two stars. Very meta-dependent card. Leech, you have to pay 5 to get 3 power. The biggest thing with Leech right now is that Magic decks want Leech. Leech decks want to play Magic and then Leech on 5. Magic's kind of just invalidated right now because of Snowguard being so popular. Very meta-dependent card. A very powerful effect, but a very costly effect. Insanely costly to play a Leech. In metas where there's a lot of Magic, Leech gets very strong. Now that Magic's invalidated, it's very weak. It's a very meta-dependent card. Very, very meta-dependent. 2 stars. Lizard! For a long time, Lizard was a 4. Lizard was a 4 for a long time. But since things like Silk and Jeff have come, it's kind of bumped him out of the 2-drop slot. Silk and Jeff have kind of like power crept Lizard a little bit. Lizard used to be a 4. Now it's a 3. Lizard was a 4 for a while. Lizard was very powerful for... Lizard had to get nerfed. Lizard had to get nerfed. And he was still probably a 4 after the nerf. Then Jeff and Silk have just kind of power crept him. Silk's a 3, or Lizard's a 3. Lockjaw! 3 stars. Very good card. Archetype enabler. There were times when Lockjaw was a 4. There was a times when Lockjaw was arguably a 5. Lockjaw was a 5-star card at one point. Even after the nerf and like Thanos, I would almost argue Lockjaw was like a 4, like a 5. But he was a 4 for a while. Now he's a 3. Very soundly a 3. There were times when he was a 4. There was a times when he probably was never a 5. There was times when it was interesting in 4. If you guys remember the days of Lockjaw Thanos, when your opponent would play Lockjaw 3 stones on turn 6 and then just generate 70 power on turn 6. Jesus Christ, dude. Oh my gosh, dude. That was awful. That was so awful. Yeah, it used to pop out Leech that would on reveal. Oh my gosh, man. Lockjaw used to be a menace, dude. Lockjaw used to be an absolute menace, man. Holy. Still 3 stars. The Jane Jaw deck, we faced one of them on our Infinite Conquest recently, and they're strong. They're hard to beat, man. They're hard to beat. This Lockjaw's still a solid card. Probably underplayed right now. I'll play some Lockjaw decks soon too. In the next couple days, hopefully. Luke Cage is a 2/2. 4 stars. Wonderful card. Luke Cage does so much. I actually probably underplay Luke Cage because I think Luke Cage is better in Conquest than Ladder. On Ladder, you're kind of whatever about Luke Cage. You could just retreat, right? Like Conquest, Luke Cage, like sometimes if like your deck gets whomped by like high E and you don't have Luke Cage in your deck, you lose, right? It's a great card. Wonderful card. Fits into so many things. 2/2. As a 2/1, it was probably a low 3, almost a 2. But as a 2/2, that 1 power, so good. Once you get close to premium stats as a 2-drop and you have a good effect, man, it's so easy to want to put that in your deck. Magic as a 3/2. 3 stars. 4 stars? 3. I would say 4 stars until the Snowguard change. I would say 4 until the Snowguard change. When there's too many things that invalidate Magic in the game, Magic just gets really rough. You can just get crushed, right? She was absolutely a 4 before the Snowguard change. People would say you could run Magic in every deck. I think she was overplayed a ton when she first got changed. I feel like people don't understand that some decks like going 7 turns and some decks like going 6. A lot of people just say, oh, Magic is a cool inclusion in this deck, but they don't realize their deck is better at 6 turns by a lot. I think Magic was way overplayed for a while. Yeah, the Hawk is just invalidated Magic. It sucks. And Legion came around and made it worse, right? Magic's 3 now. Was a 4. Very, very cool. Very strong card. Love the card. I love that it's not a 5/3 anymore. I think the change to a 3/2 was a really wonderful change. Very good decision by the balance team. Leads to a lot more kind of tension and different choices and things that you can do during the game. I love Magic as a 3/2. I like where it's at right now. Love you, baby. Magento. Talk about an underplayed card. Problem with Magento right now is that there's a lot of cards that don't mind to moving. Magento is definitely not a 4. It would be cool if Magento was a 4. I think it's a 3 though. I think Magento is a 3. Magento's in a weird spot right now. Where'd you go? Where'd he go? Anyone see Magento? I lost him. Where's my boy? Where's my son? Where did he go? Oh, here he is. Unfortunately, he's close to a 2. Unfortunately, he's really close to a 2, but I think he's a 3. I think it's underplayed. I think Magento's underplayed. I think Magento's underplayed right now. I think this card's still very powerful. People don't really play around 6/12s anymore. It's an interesting surprise card. It's hard to choose to play him over Doom or Eliath or Leader even right now. I think it's really underrated. He's probably close to the bottom of 3, but very good card. Mantis, lol. Maria Hill. She's a 1, man. Maria Hill's a 1. I wish she wasn't, dude. Before they made better cards like Snowguard and Mirage, Maria Hill, and I would legitimately put pre-nerf Maria Hill before they added Snowguard and Mirage as a 3-star, legitimately. But she sucks now. Getting a 1-cost card that could fill a curve, I thought was very good, and I still truly think that if she got reverted, she would be a 2, a high 2. She got changed from adding a 1 to a 2 or a 1, and it made the card less consistent. They said it was because it could help work with Quinjet, but it's just terrible. Sad, man. Sad. I was a huge Marie Hill believer. I think she was very good in her previous state, but even in her previous state, Mirage was just better, right? But she's a 1. Very, very fringe play in certain decks, but just sad. Master Mold. I think it's a 1. You play this in exactly Ronin. It's not LOL, because you do play it in Ronin. Any deck with Ronin, you'd play it in Ronin. Now, is Ronin a good deck? Not really. I think Ronin Surfer is okay. It's solid. You only play Master Mold in Ronin. If you're playing Master Mold in any deck that's not Ronin, you're throwing. You're giving your opponent good cards. Sentinels are great cards. You're giving your opponent 2 good cards for an understated card. This card sucks ass. But it's good in Ronin decks. If you play this in anything outside of Ronin, yeah, Ronin is also a 1 probably. Ronin's also probably a 1, unfortunately. They need to buff Ronin. Ronin shouldn't be the same stats as Dinosaur. Doesn't make sense. Did you guys know that Dinosaur used to be a 3-0 and Ronin was a 4-0? Ronin used to cost a whole extra energy than Devil Dinosaur for no freaking reason. And then they buffed Ronin to add like 3 power. It was like a 5-0 that added 3 power, and then it was crazy. Ronin's been on a journey, man. Yeah, the fact that Ronin used to be one extra cost over Devil Dinosaur is crazy. Maximus, another Ronin card. I'm gonna put it as a 2. This card used to be a star in a lot of Surfer decks. This card used to be a star in a lot of Surfer decks. The problem, and this is what happens with a lot of cards, there's just better options now than Maximus. Like Spider-Man, like pretty much any deck that would run Maximus that was a Surfer deck, just run Spider-Man now if it wants a high power card. Or Polaris. There used to be we're not in 2022 anymore, unfortunately. Maximus was good for a while, and it was a really good, it's, you know, from a point perspective, it's quite good. But Maximus is a card where like it's sitting in your hand and you're like, do I play this on 3? Like, do I play this on 3? Do I give my opponent 2 cards? Like, am I crazy? Like, why would I give my opponent 2 cards? And then it just rots in your hand and you have to play it on the final turn. And the 7 is not good enough anymore to justify that. 7's not good enough. The 7 used to completely justify it. Used to run Maximus just as a good card that you just play for 3/7. Just doesn't work anymore. I don't even think it's Loki. It was before Loki. Even before Loki came out, Maximus was completely out of favor in almost every Surfer deck. M'Baku! Now, M'Baku arguably LOL. I love this card. It would be really funny to put him in 5 and post this deck list online. It would be really funny to just like slide him in here and just not mention it. He's a champion! He's a 1-star card. Arguably LOL, but he has a near and dear place in my heart. Whenever I play Cerebro 2, I'll play Lockjaw and I'll play him. So you can find a reason to have M'Baku, but he's pretty bad. Medusa, 3 stars. 3 stars. Very solid. I'm really happy that they buffed her. Really happy they buffed Medusa. I think it's a 2/5. She's really strong. There's an argument that she's still a 2. She was a 1 previously. There's an argument that she's a 2. Because having to play her middle kind of sucks. But if you play her early, you're just fine. I'll just play her middle. Sometimes it kind of sucks when like you know you want to play her early and then the middle location you can't. And then she's like a 2/2 and she sucks. So she might be close to 2. She might just be a 2, huh? What do you guys think? She might just be a 2. I think she's one of the worst cards in Cerebro 5, unfortunately. I think she's one of the worst cards in Cerebro 5. I also want her to be better. I try and fit her into decks. I think she's one of the worst cards in Cerebro 5, unfortunately. Even though Cerebro 5 is, like, okay, I think she's the worst card in Cerebro 5. A lot of Cerebro 5 lists cut her. A lot of Cerebro 5 lists cut her. We'll go 2. We'll go high 2. She's meta dependent. Miles Morales. 3 stars. Arguably 4 at one point. The list, they're not ordered. They're not ordered, chat. Just look at the numbers on the left. They're not ordered from left to right. I kind of put them in order a little bit, but just kind of throwing around. Spider-Man was like a 4-star card for a while. There was hunks of time where she was a 4-star card. Now with Mobius, definitely a 3. I think a lot of times you still just include him in those move decks and just hope to avoid Mobius. But just a solid card. 3-star. 4-star at one point. I think maybe even before Mobius, Spider-Man was getting close to a 3. He was getting cut quite a bit now. He's getting cut in some of those lists even before Mobius came out, but definitely now with Mobius he's a 3. Misty Knights. Let's say 2. I'm looking at them as HE mostly. And Misty Knight can also find her way into some Patriot lists too, but she's a 2. Modok. 3 stars. One of the best discard cards in the game, but very limited to exactly a discard list. Very, very limited to like exactly a pure discard list. There's some hand dump stuff that I've been trying that's fine. Now from a power level perspective, you could consider or think about Modok as a 4. However, the problem is that discard is not a tier 1 or tier 2 deck right now. Arguably not even a tier 3 deck right now. And even though Modok's one of the best cards in that deck, he's so dependent on the deck. I don't think you can call him a 4. Definitely a 3 though. Very solid, very good card. Great tool for discard. Mojo, 2 stars. So many moving cards right now, like Jeff. That's just really hard to force your opponent to fill a lane with Mojo. Very rarely seen now. Every time I run Mojo in a deck, I end up cutting him because it just doesn't feel very good. Yeah, all card tier list. We have been doing this for 2 hours, an hour and 40 minutes, and we're about halfway through. Oh man. Okay. Moon Girl. 2 stars. Moon Girl was 3 for a bit. When Moon Girl was a 3/3 in beta, she was very strong. But Moon Girl's cut in almost every list that tries to collect cards now. Very, very rare. Yeah, I'll slowly go down. People who haven't been here. Yo, GC James, thank you for the gifties. Thank you for supporting the Binksathon. Go check out GC James. How have you been? How you been, man? What's new? Moon Girl, she was 3 stars for a while, but she's just 2. She's just invalidated now. Like, a lot of times Nick Fury's just better for what you want to do with collecting cards. Is she not playable in Loki or Dino deck? She's playable, but she's just not played because there's better options. Moon Knight. 1 star. Moon Knight's pretty invalidated by Silver Samurai, which is also just not good, which is interesting. But to be outshined by a card that's also pretty bad is rough. Now there's very fringe decks that can find use for... Yo, Bryce! BBC! British Broadcast Channel. Thank you so much for the 5 gifties. Thank you for the support, y'all. Might have a sub train going choo-choo. Thank you, thank you. It just sucks, man, when a card comes out that invalidates you and is still bad. That just shows how bad the card is. No, I think there's very fringe decks where you might want to use Moon Knight. It's close to LOL, but I don't think you're throwing with Moon Knight. It's just bad. Like, maybe you want to throw it in some kind of surfer discard list. Like, there's an argument to find a spot for Moon Knight. I don't think you're just throwing by having it in a list, but it's damn close. Morbius. 3 stars. Again, like, it's really hard for a discard card to get into 4 stars right now, in my opinion, because they're all kind of dependent on each other. Morbius is one of the best cards in that deck. Goes in Hela as well. Yeah, C3 discard, maybe. I don't know. That deck is probably really bad, right? But there's an argument with Moon Knight, right? There's an argument that you can find a place for Moon Knight. So that's why it doesn't go in the LOL. LOL is a card where I literally think you have no argument for putting it in your deck and you're throwing if you put it in. Morbius. Very, very solid. Fits in Hela, fits in discard. But again, I don't know if any discard card can really go up to 4 stars. It's just not strong enough right now, fortunately. Morph. 2 stars. Underplayed. Underplayed card. Surprisingly good effect for what it does. Can surprise people and just win you games, solo games. Not a great card. I do jokingly put it as a I do jokingly put it as a good card, but even though it's not really that good. But it's a fun card. Morph is way less bad than you think it is. And I think if you just sneak Morph into decks, you'll have some fun with it. Definitely not a 1 out of 5. Definitely not a 1 out of 5. It's not as bad as any of these cards on here. It's not invalidated by anything. It's a very unique effect. There's definitely reasons to put it into there's not too many reasons to put it into too many competitive decks, but it can fit into a lot of decks. It's just like an extra card, and you'll have a lot of fun with it. Monsieur Fantastique. 3 stars. Great card, very solid. What's up, big old buck? Morph can win games by himself or just be really bad. 2 is fair. Yeah. Morph's fun. Try Morph in your decks. You'll have a good time. I promise you. I really think Dara played Morph as like a subtle... I really think Morph... I really think he did that because he was facing me specifically and he did it as a joke, which I love. I'm very happy he did that. Mr. Fantastic, very solid 3-star card. Underplayed, probably. Just really good stats card. Slam it on the middle on 3. You're going to be happy. Great priority card. One of the best priority cards in the entire game. Underplayed. Really, really solid. Very strong base power level. Can slot into tons of decks. 3 stars. Mr. Negative. 2 stars. 2 stars means powerful but very meta dependent. Right now the meta has Mobius in it. A ton of Mobius. So it's completely gone. You're throwing right now if you play Mr. Negative. Like right now, in this exact meta, it's close to LOL. But I'm just kind of looking at the overall like, kind of level of the cards in many ways. Mr. Negative, right now it's in a really bad spot with Mobius. Mobius absolutely crushes the deck. If Mobius gets changed, if Mobius play rate drops dramatically, Mr. Negative probably goes back up to 3. But man, it's just so meta dependent right now, it feels bad. Mr. Sinister. 2 stars. Very meta dependent card. The only reason Mr. Sinister is decent at all right now is because of the Forge buff. If the Forge never got buffed, you would never see this card ever. Except in very fringe, like Cerebro 2 or very fringe Patriot lists. But like Mr. Sinister is kind of in those decks just because it needs another card that does what Brood does. Mr. Sinister's just kind of in those decks because you need redundancy. If it's just like an extra Brood that's much worse. Like it's not only worse than Brood, it's much worse. But the way that those Brood decks work together, you just need a card like Mr. Sinister in case you miss Brood. 2 stars, very meta dependent. Right now it's seeing a lot of play, but it's just the power level of the card. It's somewhat bad. It sees Fringe play in Patriot. With the Brood buff, it's obviously gone a lot higher, but still just by it, like as itself, even in the meta and things around it, still just a very 2-star kind of card. It's like the worst card in that deck, but it needs to be in there because you need redundancy. It's weird. 2 stars. Ultimate Man. 3 stars. Pretty much just because of Phoenix Force. Pre-Phoenix Force. 1 star. Pre-Phoenix Force, maybe 1 star. It's really bad before Phoenix Force. With Phoenix Force now, it really fits in that Phoenix Force deck, which I think is like a tier 2 deck. I think that Phoenix Force deck is like a tier 2 deck right now. And it's one of the best cards in that deck. So I put it as a 3 star because of that. But it's basically just because of the Phoenix Force deck. Mysterio, this is an interesting one. Because Mysterio at its base has a lot of power to it. I'm going to put Mysterio as a 3-star card. It's not seeing too much play right now. But it has seen a ton of play in a lot of different decks. And a lot of different decks have found use for Mysterio. Be it Bast decks to get 3 on all of them. Hit Monkey decks to get triple triggers. Bishop decks to get additional triggers. I think it's very soundly... a 3-star card. It's very soundly a 3-star card. Yeah, the 2/5 Mysterio was nuts, dude. It was just used in destroy decks. It's crazy. Yeah, Mysterio is just such a cool glue card. It fits into so many decks. Really cool card. Very well designed card. One of the most complicated cards in the game too, which is cool. Mystique. Awesome card. Very important glue card in the game. 3 stars. I'm trying to think if I want to make it 4. It's definitely not 5. There's no way it's 5. It's not even close to 5. Maybe I do put Mystique as 4. She's very important to a lot of decks. Yeah, she has so many uses. She's very high power level. We'll go 4 for sure. She does so many good things. She's so good in so many decks. Very powerful, very flexible. Very important to the game. If Mystique didn't exist, so many fewer archetypes would exist. She's very strong in a lot of decks. 4 stars. Nakia. 1 star. Very rarely you can find some use for Nakia, even as a 3/3. Not in LoL. You can find some uses in like a very semi-competitive deck to use Nakia. But you just usually don't want her in your deck. Namor. 2 stars. Probably slightly, I don't know. Namor's weird. Namor's really high power level. Worse Orca, it costs 2 less. It's 4 cost versus a 6 cost is a ton. Namor's really strong. Maybe underplayed. I really like the card. I want to try and use Namor a little bit more. It's just kind of hard because like it's like a premium static card. It's really good. I like Namor a lot. 2 stars. I think that like there will be a meta where Namor will see some fringe play. It's not now, and there hasn't been one really ever. But the core power level of the card is so strong that I feel like it has to be a 2. There might be some meta where it exists. It's just a very high power level card. Negasonic. Why does it say 3/2? When was she ever at 3/2? That's wild. 2 stars, maybe 1. Some people find some cool uses for Negasonic. I'd never use her, so I have a hard time. I might put her as 1 because I like never use this card, dude. I'm gonna do 1. I never have any reason to add her to a deck. Some people swear by her. Some people think she's like a hidden gem, but we'll put her as a 1. I don't think the card's good. Nick Fury is a 4/5. 3 stars. Really good card to create cards. Kind of invalidates Moon Girl crazily. I don't think it's high 3. I think it's pretty low 3 actually. I think you never really play the cards that Nick Fury generates, but in like Loki meta, having a 4-drop that can generate 3 cards always is really good. Low 3. If Loki gets changed, it might drop down to 2. Nightcrawler, 2 stars. Way worse Jeff. Sometimes people use Jeff and Nightcrawler in decks, which is interesting. I almost want to put this at 3. This is, like, Nightcrawler's probably decent right now, right? Because Nightcrawler's probably decent right now because Killmonger's not really around. But I think it's because I think he's good right now and he's meta dependent. I think he's kind of stuck at 2 because he's dependent on if Killmonger exists. If Killmonger exists prevalently in the meta, you never ever run Nightcrawler in your deck. Never ever run Nightcrawler in your deck. So I think because of that, he's a 2. Right now, he feels like a 3, but that's because Killmonger is not played very much at all. Yeah, when Elsa comes out, he might move to a 3 as well. There's definitely a chance. But again, like Nightcrawler's just terrifying, man. Or Killmonger's just terrifying. I think it's 2. Nimrod, 3 stars. Very cool card. I'm so glad they changed it from a 5/5. As a 5/5, the card was so doo-doo. Card just was so bad. Even when you destroy it, you'd only get 10 energy, like 10 power out of your 5-drop, and you had a condition. It was so bad as a 5/5. Especially because you want to Shuri it. It's very solid as a 3-drop. It's one of the better cards in like that Phoenix Force deck or like some of those destroy decks. I don't think it could be a 4. It doesn't feel like a 4-star card to me. It's very dependent on how much armor is around, how much Cosmo is around, and how good destroy decks are. I like it as a 3. 3 stars. Nova. That was tough. That was tough. I'm between 2 and 3. I think it's a 3. That was a really good card. That was a really good card. Nimrod's a 5/6 now. It used to be a 5/5. Nova's a 3. Nova's a very strong card to have in your decks. Low 3 though. I'm bordering on 2, but it's not that meta dependent. You could play Nova in any meta, right? You can play Nova in any meta. It's just fine. I'm gonna say 3 star. Just the power level of the card is really good to give you basically a blue Marvel effect if you can destroy it on the final turn. Pretty crazy, right? Odin. This is tough. Odin's absolutely not 5. Odin might be 4 though. I think it's 3 though. I think Odin's 3. Very high 3, but I think it's 3. Like people are saying 4. What decks? When was the last time you've seen Odin played against you? Right? I almost can't remember the last time I've seen Odin play, like had Odin played against me. It's like never gets played. Very rarely played. It's kind of in like that Jane Jaw deck sometimes. It's in ramp, obviously. It's a solid card in ramp. 3 stars. It can have some high power level, but it's definitely not in any meta decks. It's not in any tier 1 or tier 2. Probably not even in any tier 3 decks right now. Very strong, but it's a high 3, but I don't think it could cross the threshold of 4. Like I look at all these cards in 4 and like I see these cards all the time. I see these cards in 4 all the time. I see Odin like once a day. So it's very high power level, but it doesn't do, like, I don't know. If you asked me 6 months ago, I'd probably say 4. But it's kind of gotten power crept, it feels. There's just better things you can do with your energy. What's up, MNC? I'm doing really well, man. Okoye 1. Terrible card. You know what? Fuck it. Don't put this card in your deck. It sucks. Omega Red 1 star. Don't put Okoye in your deck. Put a Nikki in your deck over Okoye. Okoye sucks ass. Okoye is just so bad. Every time I try to play Okoye, it's stinky. Stinky. I'll say Omega Red 1. Now, I think it's just because I think Omega Red is a cool, unique effect that you can find a deck for. You know? It needs a buff real bad. It's really close to LOL tier. You're probably throwing... Oh, man. You are probably throwing... Alright. If you're throwing... That's true. You're throwing if Omega Red's in your deck. If you have Omega Red's in your deck, there was a better option. Always. There was 100% always a better option if you have Omega Red in your deck. You're right. There's no way that there's not a better option than Omega Red ever. Ever. No, yeah, you're right, lol. Unfortunately, it's lol. Onslaught. Very solidly 3 stars. Another card that's underplayed. I think more people should... We were joking a lot around that Patriot deck. And about how everyone say Onslaught, and it's like no one runs this card in that Patriot deck. They run Goliath instead. I think that Patriot deck, you might have better results if you just put Onslaught in the deck. Because people don't expect it right now. And you can win games like crazy, especially on ladder. On Conquest, I think that Goliath is probably just better. But I think if you're playing ladder, if you're running that like Patriot, Blue Marvel, Bast Brood deck, I think Onslaught's just better than Goliath right now because people just think you're going to play Goliath. And they just play Onslaught and you laugh. And you always throw, I don't know. It's interesting. You don't see Patriot in a long time. The Patriot Brood Forge deck is one of the best decks right now. Orca. I'll say it's 2. Orca's absolutely not a 3. There's no way Orca's a 3. It's a borderline 1, but I have a lot of love for Orca. I think Orca's cool. I think Orca can surprise people and steal some cubes. I'll put it as a low 2. The argument that there's a 1-star card and that's just like you're kind of throwing if you have Orca in your deck, but it's a really fun card, surprises people. Patriot. Four stars. Very solid 4. There's multiple different Patriot decks. There's Ultron Patriot decks. There's these Brood Forge decks. It's very strong in those decks. Patriots always had a home in the meta. Always. There's been good or decent Patriot decks. Maybe when Enchantress was a 4/6, it kind of fell apart a bit. Patriot's just so good. Wonderful card. Very well balanced, well designed. I think 3/1's the perfect spot for it. Really good. We'll pretty much always find a place in the meta unless something gets nerfed crazily or if Rouge and Enchantress are rampant. Polaris. I want to put it at 4. I'm putting it at 4. Polaris is crazy strong, dude. Polaris is insane. From a pure power level perspective, you could put Polaris in any deck. You could put Polaris in absolutely any deck. Polaris is so good. I think she's a solid 4-star card. She is so strong. So insanely strong. Why is Cosmo a 3? Because Polaris is better than Cosmo. I think Polaris you can put in any deck. Like, insane card. Professor X. Four stars, I think. 4 stars. Nearly a meta-defining card. Nearly 5. But Professor X just kind of plays a role in those decks, which is interesting. Debatably, Spidey is... I think Polaris and Spider-Man are both 4-star cards right next to each other. Jeff made him worse. Jeff made him better. Because you play Jeff in the deck. I completely disagree. I think Jeff made Professor X better. By a lot. I actually completely disagree with that take. I think you're 180 degrees in the wrong direction. 4 stars. Insanely wonderful card. Also, another card that's like never been changed. Always been pretty good. And I think they found the perfect stat line right away. Cosmo should be 4 minimum. That's fine. It's not your list. It's fine. I think Cosmo's 3 stars. I think Cosmo's getting... I think Cosmo has gotten power... Cosmo has gotten power crept. Playing a 3/3 is hard now. Playing a 3/3 is really hard to justify for a Cosmo. It used to not be at all. And on reveals aren't nearly as powerful as they used to be. Cosmo's 3. I'm very confident in my Cosmo at 3 placement. Very confident in that, actually. Psylocke is a 2/2. You know, I thought she was gonna make some waves, but maybe she's 3. I kind of want her as a 3, I think. I think Psylocke's a 3. As a 2-1, she was a 2, but I think with the extra power, and especially now that Wave is a little harder to play, because of Mobius, I think she's a 3. Very good power level right now. 2-2 and you get an extra energy. It's very good. Delicious. I think she's a 3. Borderline 2. But if you look at all these 2s here, right? I think Psylocke's more versatile and better than pretty much all of these cards, in my opinion. Punisher, don't put it in your deck or you're throwing. Quake! One. I don't think you're throwing if you put Quake in your deck. I think it's a surprise card. You can win some cubes with Quake. I think there's almost always a better option, but it's fun. I won't put her at low, but she's definitely 1. He's absolutely a 1. Quicksilver, if you put this card in your deck, you are lowering your win rate and cube rate. 100%. There's no ever and never any justification to have this card in your deck. This card is the worst. This card might be the worst card in the game. I would have any of these cards ahead of it in my deck over Quicksilver. This is the worst card in the game. Quicksilver is the worst card in the game, and it's not even close. Probably Quake is that Legion exists. I mean, Legion's a better choice, but they're completely different. Like one's 5/7, one's 2/3. Yes, Agatha is way better than Quicksilver. Agatha is so much better than Quicksilver. This card is terrible. This card makes your deck worse 100% of the time. It is the worst card in the game. And it does the opposite of Agatha. Agatha is the best card in the game. Quicksilver is the worst card in the game. And I believe that wholeheartedly. Quicksilver is so bad. It's so bad, dude. Yeah, did I say Agatha? I meant Chavez. Sorry, Chavez is the best card in the game. Quicksilver is the worst card in the game. Quicksilver never had a moment with Lockjaw. You were not wrong. You were wrong if you think Quicksilver had a moment with Lockjaw. You put any other card in your deck. Quicksilver's... No, it did not. You're wrong. You're literally wrong. I guarantee you if you find any data on it, that deck... Any other card you could put in there was better. There's no way that Quicksilver is going to Lockjaw deck. Lockjaw decks are... No. Oh my gosh. It's so bad at Lockjaw. Oh, okay. Never mind. I'm not going to make this argument because I can't even argue with you if that's your argument. I'm sorry. No, you can believe that all you want. I'm just... I literally can't argue with you about it because I'm going to get frustrated. Quinjet! You're gonna make me so frustrated if it's the fact that you put Quicksilver to Lockjaw deck infuriates me. It actually gets me so mad that you would put it in a Lockjaw deck when you want to draw Lockjaw. Let's put a card that makes us less likely to draw the best card in our deck. Was a 4-star for a while. Was a 4-star for about 3 weeks. Now it's probably 3. 3. Very solidly 3. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe it was never a 4-star, but definitely 3. Definitely 3. Very good card. Red Skull. 3 or 4. It might be 4, chat. It might be 4. Red Skull has been in a top 4 deck since Shuri's come out. Red Skull has been in like a top 5 deck ever since Shuri came out. There was a time where it wasn't right after Shuri got nerfed. I'm putting it at 4. The card's crazy. The card is so good. This card has been through nerfed and changed and adjusted, and the card that makes it good has been changed and adjusted and moved around. A great card, wonderful card. And I think a good card for the game. Back when Shuri, you could do any lane, it was really broken. I don't mind Shuri Red Skull that much. I know a lot of people don't like that type of play style because it feels like if you go like Shuri Red Skull, you win. But like, honestly, watch the YouTube video tomorrow about the Agatha deck that I played. I played like 3 different Shuri Red Skull decks. And if you have the means to play and fight against Red Skull, you can do some really cool things. You can do some really, really cool things. I'm keeping Hulk up here. I think Hulk is so important in the meta. I'll put Devil Dinosaur at 5 though. I think Devil Dinosaur is 5. I won't swap them, but I will put Dinosaur up here. I'll put it ahead of Hulk for you. Don't worry. I'm keeping Hulk up there, but you're right. I think Devil Dinosaur deserves to be 5-star. It's such an important card in so many things. Rescue 1. There's an argument in like Professor X armor decks. You can find a way to utilize rescue. Most of the time you're throwing, but it's pretty bad. I'm not reading that. You're simply wrong. I'm sorry. I can't waste my time and everyone else's time reading a paragraph of someone who's just insanely wrong about thinking Quicksilver belongs in Lockjaw decks. I'm sorry. I am not going to do that. Rhino! 1 star. This card sucks. Just plays Scarlet Witch. Fringe play and like triple location disruption C3, where you want to throw Scarlet Witch, Magic, and Rhino in the deck. Rocket Raccoon. Probably 1. I might put it at 2. Rhino over Scarlet and C3? Nah. I might put it at 2, man. Somewhat decently decently high power level of a card, right? Because it could be a 1/4. It's probably got to be a 1 though, man. It's probably got to be a 1. It's probably got to be a 1. It sucks. There's almost no reason that you'd put Rocket Raccoon in a deck unless you're like a full zoo deck. Like Hawkeye's just much better than Rocket Raccoon, and Hawkeye is so borderline a 1 as well. Put Rocket Raccoon down there. Rockslide is a 3/3. This is interesting. I don't know if it's 2 or 3. I don't know if it's a 2 or a 3. Is it 3/3? I mean, you're losing quite a bit of stats. It's probably a 2, right? 2 now that Darkhawk is not a 5. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's fair. 3/3 Rockslide is pretty strong, man. 3/3 Rockslide is pretty strong, but you kind of need to have a Surfer or a Darkhawk list. Neither of those lists are too crazy right now. With Surfer list, you also kind of want to have Darkhawk. One of the highest 2s. I feel like it's better than almost all these cards, but I think it is worse than pretty much all these. Rogue, dude. I want to put it at 4, but that's crazy. This card is so good right now, dude. Rogue is so good right now. Put Rogue in your decks, dude. I soloed so many decks yesterday playing Rogue. I know it's not a 4. I'm not. That's what I said. I like gutsily want to do it, but it's simply not a 4-star card. It's definitely a 3-star card. I think for a while, I think a lot of people might think it's a 2-star, but I think right now Rogue is crazy. I think Rogue is crazy right now, and people are underplaying the hell out of it. 3 stars for Rogue. Ronin, 1 star. Ronin Surfer is probably the only viable Ronin deck, and it's probably like the 5th or 6th best Surfer list. Why is Polaris 4-star? Because it's crazy good. It's one of the best cards in the game. This card's bad. I think Surfer's really the only archetype that can work. Like Molded and Folded, that deck that Dara like plays and champions a lot, I think is only good because he plays it and Dara is one of the best players in the world. And he's very good at like playing interesting decks like that. No, I think Spider-Man and Polaris are both 4-star cards. I'm gonna put both of them at 4. I think they're kind of choose one or put both in your deck. I think Polaris and Spider-Man are crazy strong power level cards. Insanely strong power level cards. You can put them in any deck. You don't have to do all the movement stuff. It's crazy. Yeah, Ronan's just a 1. I don't think it's 2. It's just not good enough. Ronan should be buffed. Should be like a 5-4. Should be a 5-4. Sabretooth. I never use Sabretooth, but I also don't use Destroy. I think Sabretooth is 2 win more in Destroy decks. I think you shouldn't run Sabretooth in Destroy decks almost ever. I think this card is copium. I think anyone who runs Sabretooth in your Destroy list, I think you're making the deck worse. I really do. Whenever I see my opponent playing Sabretooth, I feel like they're just... Sometimes you get like the crazy Wombo combo with like Noel and it goes crazy, but like... I think he's a 1. I really think he's a 1. I think people overplay this card and try and make it work, and I think that they're hindering themselves by running it in decks. I think you just shouldn't run Sabretooth in your decks. I think it's very bad. Sandman. Oh man, remember 5/5 Sandman? Very scary. Let's say it's a 3-star card. I think Sandman is a very high power level card. I think Sandman is a very important card to have in the deck. I think it's very important to have the potential for Sandman. Sandman is really the reason that Ramp is still alive. Ramp is still, it's not a very good deck by any means, but it's kind of the glue that holds it together. I think Sandman's a very powerful card. I think Sandman's insanely powerful. Sandman as a 5/5 was a 5-star card, dude. Now it wouldn't be, but when it was a 5/5, when it was a 5-star card. That card defined the meta for a while. As a 5/3, I think it's still a 3-star card. Right now, it's kind of a bit out of favor because like against Loki, Sandman, they just take your cards and then play better than you, and then they tempoed out. I still think it's a 3 power card. I think this card is slept on a little bit. I think Sandman Ramp is better than a lot of people think. It's really good. Sauron. Four stars. People don't realize how good this card is. I think the stats, someone posted this on Twitter, looking at some of the stats. I think Sauron is one of the best draw win rate cards in the entire game by like a lot. I don't think he was ever trash. I think it was underplayed. Why do you think he was trash before and not trash now? Just because of the meta? I don't think he was ever trash. I think he was always 3 at least. I don't think Sauron's a 5. I don't think it defines the meta. But it's very powerful. It's very, very powerful. Shuri meta playing Sauron was actually just worse than Cosmo or Polaris 3. That's interesting. When old Shuri? Like old Shuri? Interesting. 4 stars. Very underplayed. Very, very good card. Very, very powerful. Yeah, when Shuri... Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because, like, why would you worry about using Sauron? It didn't matter. That makes a lot of sense. A crazy card. Crazy, crazy card. And it's a card that doesn't feel overpowered, right? It's a card that doesn't really just feel overpowered. Especially, I think earlier Get Wrecked 2, it's like, sometimes you had to go, like, late Shuri. Like, sometimes you just wanted to get the armor out. So if you, like, played Sauron on 3, then you couldn't play armor on 4 and stuff like that. I could see that. I don't think he was ever trash, though. I think he was always 3 as far as power level goes, but just because that deck was, like, you know, meta-defining. Scarlet Witch. 2 or 3. 2 or 3. The problem with Scarlet Witch being a 3 is that outside of Cerebro 3, you almost would always just rather take Snowguard, right? Even after the Snowguard nerf, I think you'd still rather have Snowguard than Scarlet Witch in almost every deck. Or Legion, yeah. I think before Legion and Snowguard, she was soundly a 3. I think she was very soundly a 3 cost card, or a 3-star card. But now she's a 2. Now she's a 2, I think. I think she's down to a 2. Sarah Control, I'd much rather play Snowguard in that deck, personally. Much rather play Snowguard. Now, they do slightly different things, but somewhat similar. I think she's a 2 now, unfortunately. But in Cerebro 3, I still think she's a star. But Cerebro 3 is just not that good. Loki figured out a way to beat Cerebro 3, and now Cerebro 3 was like a tier 2 deck for like a week. And then Loki figured out how to beat Cerebro 3, I feel like, and then Cerebro 3 just kind of disappeared. Scorpion! Easy 3 stars. Very high power level. Very underplayed. A bit less relevant now because there's a lot of good 2-drops. Again, kind of the same situation as Lizard, where like Jeff and Silk are just so strong that it's competes for that spot a lot more. I think Scorpion was one of the most underplayed cards for a really long time right before that. But still, as far as power level goes, Scorpion's just very, very good. Very solid. You often get 3-5 or 2-5, 2-6 stats out of it if you play it on 2 or 3. It's really, really strong card. 3 stars. Sentinel! Easy 3 stars. Easy 3 stars. High 3 stars too. I don't think it could ever be 4, but very solid card. This is why Master Mold is bad, because you give your opponent 2 3-star cards. Sentinel's really, really good. Sentinel does a lot of really good things. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Toasted Hazelnut. Like, that's why Master Mold is bad, because you're giving your opponent good cards. Sentry, now a 4/10. 2 stars. Cool in junk decks. Probably never going to be a meta, like a tier 2 or tier 1 deck. But Junks felt like it's been like a tier 3 deck forever, right? Junks felt like it's like kind of been like a tier 3 or tier 4 deck kind of forever, which is cool. It's a cool deck to have there. It keeps some decks honest that just like just go crazy with their board space. Then Junk is like, haha, silly. Yeah, Nihilus will make this card a lot better. Nihilus will make this card a lot better. Nihilus is not for a while though. It's a whole month and a half away. Yeah, Get Wrecked. It's very interesting. I think you should just be able to play it on the right location. I think they should remove I actually talked about this ad nauseum at one point. That Sentry, the reason that Sentry is bad isn't because it creates a void. It's because you can't play it as like the 4th card on the right location. Not being able to play on the right location is really bad. It's really, really bad. That's the worst part of the card. Like, creating the void is often like a plus. The fact that you can't play him on the right side is awful. Awful. I think you should be allowed to play him on the right side. I don't understand why you can't. Like, it wouldn't make the card overpowered. It wouldn't even probably make it a 3-star card. It just makes the card slightly better and like more on par with other things. I hope they do that eventually. Because there's no, I mean, you know, like if you don't have 1 space left, you'd never play it right because then you just add 0 power. But you can use it to cap off the final, and it's just like a little bit better by doing that. It doesn't limit you quite as much. Or if like your opponent Cosmo's on the right side, you could play it on the right side. It's just all these little things, right? There's all these little things with Sentry. It makes me sad. I wish that they, yeah, it's the same reason why Giganto is so bad. It's the restriction. Hello? Okay, cool. Yeah, it would still add the void on the right if it played on the right. Yeah. So that's why you wouldn't play it unless you had a plan for it, or if Cosmo was on the right lane, or if it was the 4th card in the right lane. Sarah. 4 stars. Now, Sarah decks are pretty bad right now. Don't get me wrong, chat. Sarah's in a rough spot with Mobius currently. But she's just such a high power level card. She's been part of the meta literally from day 1. Very good card. You couldn't even think about putting her under 4 in my opinion. Even though right now she's a bit invalidated, it's very hard to play her. Easiest 4-star card I can think of. Shadow King. Remember when Shadow King had this stat line, chat? Lol. Easy 3 stars. Nah, Sarah's not 2 at the moment. Sarah's still very, very insanely high power level. Just because there's a lot of Mobius doesn't make the power level of the card down. In this specific meta, she's hard to play. But Sarah's still pretty damn good in the meta right now. You just play your own Mobius and you have backup plans. Yeah, 4/3 Shadow King. Cringe. Very solid 3 stars. Probably underplayed as a 2/3 right now. I think he's still underplayed right now as a 2/3. Very underplayed as a 2/3. Yeah, Fergus, I have no idea. I think when they first announced it, I said if this card was -2 energy, it still wouldn't be the best card in the game, which is crazy. Very good. Probably underplayed right now. Probably very underplayed right now. I feel like only Cerebro 3 plays it, and that's a bit of a shame. Shang-Chi! Used to be a 5-star card. Wait, it might still be a 5-star card. No, it's still 5. It's still 5. It's still 5. Let's be honest. It's still 5. It used to be here. Now it's probably like here. It used to be arguably better than Chavez for certain reasons. But now I think it's very on the low end. It's getting close to being more of a 4 power. Still defines the meta. Still very important. Very important. Shanna! Card sucks. She-Hulk. 3 stars. Again, people will say like Mobius should be worse. She-Hulk's still an insanely high power level card. There was a time where She-Hulk was 4. There was a time when she was a 4-star card for sure. There's arguably a time she was a 5-star card. Very solidly 3 though. Very solidly 3. Very solidly 3. Very, very powerful card. Shocker! I think it's a 1. I don't even think high Evo Shocker. I don't even think it's worth it. I think there's very fringe high Evo decks that want Shocker. But I think it's so fringe that I put it at 1. Evo Shocker's just bad. Yeah. I'm gonna blast you. It's so true. Yeah, Evo Shocker's 1. Even just Shocker, Evo Shocker, both 1. Shuri! Five stars. Meta defining. She's not 4. She's 5 stars. Meta defining card. Absolutely meta defining card. Still 5 stars in my opinion. Easy 5. You have to think about Shuri anytime you jump into Conquest, man. I think Shuri's clearly and easily a 5-star card. Meta defiant, something you always have to think about. Always have to think about this card. 5 stars. Silver Surfer. Four stars. Wonderful card. There will never, I don't know. The change from Silver Surfer from a 3/0 +3 to 3/2 +2, and the change from Zabu to a -2 to a -1. Those two nerfs that happened at the same time were the like, honestly, you could write like an essay on why that the change of those two cards was so perfectly changed those cards from hated 5-star cards to very, very powerful, enjoyable cards. Silver Surfer took a little while longer to get back to playability, but Silver Surfer decks have always been around. They'll always be around. Always a good way to play the game. So many deck building opportunities, so many different variants of Surfer. I hope that maybe there's a time where Silver Surfer becomes a 5-star card again, but right now it's just a very solid 4-star card. Very, very good, very well designed card. Spectrum! 2 stars. Badly. Just outclassed. Fortunately, Spectrum has just slowly been outclassed and power crept. This card used to be a 6/4. It's now a 6/5. Still has the same issues. I want to see Spectrum as a 6/7. I think a 6/7 would make her very powerful. As a 6/5, she just doesn't do it. It's very hard for her to fight for a lane by herself. I don't know if you could make Spectrum give +3, even if you made her like a 6/2. I think if you made her +3, it runs into the same problem as like Surfer did. It just goes too over the top. No, +3 to each, I think you run into issues. We found that out with Surfer. Surfer just like, when you can give +3 to multiple cards and you can double that, it gets real dangerous. Like Wong Spectrum then gets +6 to your whole board. It gets real dangerous. I don't think they should ever make her +3. I think that's really hard to balance in the game. And like I said, we kind of learned the problems with that from Surfer. I like her as a 6 cost because she's a boss card. Like boss cards in like card games are kind of like the big boss of like an archetype. So Spectrum and Onslaught are like the big bosses of ongoing. Odin's like the big boss of on reveal, for instance. Heimdall is the big boss of move. Destroyer's kind of the big boss of destroy, but Null is probably what you look at for that. Like this huge big payoff card that your deck builds towards. I don't like moving Spectrum to a 5 for that reason. Yeah, Death Destroyer. Yeah. I don't like moving Spectrum to a 5 cost just for like almost that thematic reason. But I mean, the same could be said about Blue Marvel. Blue Marvel used to be the quote unquote boss card of Zoo decks as a 6/4. Moved into a 5/3 and became a lot better. But I don't know if moving Spectrum, because you always want to play her on the final turn, but I guess you could sneak an extra card in. Maybe you could run Sarah in those decks now easier if you make her a 5/5. Be interesting. Spider-Man! Four stars. I don't think Spectrum Odin would actually be that good. Because like between turns 1 and 4, there's not too many things you can add, but it would be pretty good. Polaris and Spider-Man are kind of like the same card in my opinion. They both do very similar things. They're both very powerful. They both have very strong effects. They both have very good stat lines. Wonderful cards. They can fit into any deck. You can put Spider-Man or Polaris in any deck and it will make the deck, it'll be fine. Absolutely wonderful cards. Incredibly powerful. Yeah, Spider-Man gets even better. Yeah, Spider-Man probably clears Polaris once Elsa comes out. That's a really good point. Correct. Old Spider-Man for a second was 5, yeah. Spider-Woman! 2 stars. Good card. Maybe underplayed. It's just hard. When you're playing a deck that doesn't go super wide, Spider-Woman just feels bad to just play sometimes. Cool in junk decks. Junk decks have never really been better than tier 3. Not even running all junk decks. Tier 2 card. Cool, interesting option. I'm really happy it's a 5/7. Back, I think it was a 4/4 at first. I think it was a 4/4. It went to a 5/7 and then a 5/8. So it's gotten like buffed twice. It's a 5/8. It's like its most powerful form. I don't think they need to make it any better. I think it's just an interesting option that's fine not being a very good card, but is okay in some decks as a tool. Squirrel Girl. 2 stars. As a 1/1, she was arguably 1 star, but she does fit in like Zooey Ka-Zar decks. She does kind of fit in some like Death Destroy builds. She kind of fits in Patriot. As a 1/2, she's probably at the just past the threshold of 2. I still think almost no decks want Squirrel Girl in it. Very few decks want Squirrel Girl in it still. But it probably just went over the threshold that you can find some arguments for. Star-Lord, 1 star. You used to have to fit this in Cerebro 5 before Silk and Medusa were there. It's bad. Just trash now. Stature. Three stars. Right now, very bad. Right now, very bad because Mobius is around. Stature's still a 3-star card though. Very solid. Very nice addition to some like stats level decks. Good power level, especially now that Silver Samurai's around. Still like a 3-star, very like quite strong. Black Bolt's also a 3-star, I think. Pretty sure Black Bolt's also 3. If I have Black Bolt at 2, then I might have to adjust. I'm pretty sure Black Bolt's at 3, right? There's so many fucking cards in this game, dude. Is Black Bolt up here? I can't see him. Black Bolt is 2? Where the hell is he? Maybe I see him now. Thank you. I'm gonna move Black Bolt up as opposed to moving Spectrum down. Now that I'm looking at the cards around Black Bolt, I think Black Bolt's a higher power level. Especially with that combo. Storm! Four-star card. Almost 5. There's an argument for Storm to be a 5-star card. There's been times where Storm's defined the meta. But I think right now she's at a 4. There have been times where I think Storm has been a 5-star card in the game. But I think that she's 4. I look around Iron Man, Surfer, Blue Marvel. She's right in that tier. She's right in that tier. High 4 though. High 4. High 4. She's a great card. Very important. Very important. Strong Guy. Lol. Sunspots. I was gonna say Strong Guy because like some of my like I've made like some tempo Modoc lists that do Strong Guy, but they're so bad. There's no reason to ever put Strong Guy in those lists. Let's be honest. I'm just self-coping. I want Strong Guy to be good. And also it makes a funny YouTube thumbnail when I can put Strong Guy in it and convince people to play it. That spot's interesting. Sunspot's had kind of a renaissance, man. Sunspot for a while was after it got brought down to 1-0, you didn't see this card anywhere, man. You didn't see this card anywhere for a while. But now that like skipping turns is pretty big for now that High Evo is back, I think you have to say Sunspot's a 4, man. Yeah, he used to be like the only good 1 cost, which is crazy. Put Sunspot solidly at 4. Very solid, very good tool. It's in a few different decks. Solid 4. Super Scroll! 2 stars. The absolute defining card of meta dependent. I've said this forever, man. Super Scroll is a crazy card. The card's effect in and of itself is absolutely insane. There's no way this is a 1-star card. This can't be 1. This cannot be a 1-star card. It's Ben Brode. What? He voice scrolls laugh. Oh, I like that. I actually had no idea. I thought he was saying he was in chat. I was gonna get scared. Like honestly, such a 2-star card. This card can be crazy. Like if you bring a tournament deck and like right now, it actually might not be too bad because Rogue's good. Like Scroll might be good now, which is kind of weird. Scroll might actually be good right now. I don't think it's a 3-star card. It's way too meta dependent because Super Scroll is so bad. Having just a 4 cost that rots in your hands in so many matchups is so bad. Got so serious when I thought Ben was watching. That's my boss, dude. He pays me a lot to tell everyone that the game is actually not super greedy. Oop. Wasn't supposed to say that out loud. Oop. Super Scroll. I think it's the define. It's high on 2. I mean, it's better than a lot of these cards. It might be pretty good right now to play. Swarm. 3 stars. Very unfortunate. Can I get some non-targets in chat for Swarm for Mobius coming in? Can I get some non-targets in chat for Swarm just getting murdered, man? So sad, dude. This card, like, so many. Ah, God, this is why I hate Mobius so much, chat. So many cards just invalidated by a single stupid card. Why is Magento in 3? Because it's a great card. Underplayed. Very high power level. It's still three-star power level. Right now, it's almost impossible to play, unfortunately. Very good card, though. Swordmaster. I gotta say it's a 1. Almost every option at a discard is better. Rupu said that Hellcow is the worst discard card, but I mean, it has to be Swordmaster, right? It has to be Swordmaster. Has to be Swordmaster, I think. Swordmaster's trash. Close to like LOL level, but I guess you can find a way to use it. Taskmaster's interesting. Someone said it's a 5. I don't think it's a 5. I think Taskmaster is a 4. Task is not a 3. Task is not a 3. Very solidly a 4. It's weird though because every Shuri deck has Taskmaster, right? So it's kind of weird to think about like that. But Shuri's the powering force behind that deck. Taskmaster's the Shuri's the force behind that deck. Taskmaster's like the role player, right? Right. This is like LeBron. This is Chris Bosh. You know what I mean? This is like MJ. This is like Pippen. You know what I mean? Very high 4, close to meta defining card, but Shuri's kind of the meta defining card. But Taskmaster also fits in a lot of other decks, which is really cool. Very versatile card, insanely good power level. Also, again, a card that's very, very well balanced. Insanely well balanced, man. 5-0. It's been this exact way the entire time. It's always been a good card. It's never felt horribly overpowered. I think it's the very, very good tool to have in the game. Thanos. Dude, is it a 2 now? Is it a 2 after the Soulstone change? Dang, man. I think it's a 2 after the Soulstone change. So sad, dude. It's so sad that it's a 2. Dude, I hate the Soulstone change, man. The Soulstone change, it's just like... It's so weird how such a small change to that deck just like... gut punched it. The other problem is that Loki crushes Thanos. Loki crushes Thanos. The reason Loki crushes Thanos is because Thanos has these little cards that like gear up their deck to like try and get to these big powerful cards that they actually add to the deck, and Loki just takes those cards, makes them discounted 1, and then just plays them right in your stupid face. Thanos got nerfed, and then the absolute best counter to him dropped into the game, which sucks, man. Thanos is such a cool deck, such a cool card. Very interesting idea. But it's in 2 now, man. It's unfortunately in 2. It is really not good to play Thanos. It's just... The Stone's engine just doesn't work anymore. Now that one less draw is there. It's really sad. Collector! Chat, this 2-1 collector got +2 power. I'm pretty sure. No, this is the one. This is the 2-1 that got +1. That's true. Collector post nerf. Still a 4 card? 4? No, it has. I think it's a 3. It's one of the worst cards. It's weirdly, it's one of the worst cards of the deck now. Ugh, it's weird. It might be 4. It might be the very top of 3 or 4. Loki made Collector the top of 4. Loki made Collector here, and then after 2 power got cut off, I think you have to say 3. I think you have to say 3. A 214 isn't bad, but it's not the Collector that makes it a 214, if that makes sense. Thing is 2. HE Thing sees Fringe play in HE decks. More than Shocker. Better than Shocker. They nerfed it, which is crazy. It's wild that this card caught the nerf and not Cyclops. Still wild to me. Might be a 1. No, Some HE decks still run it. It might be a 1. It's close to a 1, but I think it's a 2. Thor! 3-star card. Fits into a lot of decks. Every Lockjaw deck loves Thor pretty much. There's that cool new like Hit Monkey Thor Jane Foster deck. Underrated in Surfer, I think. Very solidly 3-star card. This card was originally a 4/6 with the same effect, and it was doo-doo because it came down a turn later. Titania, 2 stars. Close to 3. Very top of 2. Kind of in the same thing as like all the junk deck cards. I've pretty much done the same thing for all the junk deck cards because they all just kind of do the same thing. They're all role players in this like tier 3, tier 4 forever deck. It's definitely not a 1-star. Definitely not a 1-star. Titania is a very, very powerful card. Very high skill level card too. Titania is very high skill. Typhoid Mary. This is interesting because Typhoid Mary is seeing some play in like one of the best decks right now. But I think she kind of like falls into a similar bucket. You don't think Titania is a high skill card? I guess that makes sense why you think it's a 1. Typhoid Mary's in a weird spot because it's in one of the best decks. But I think it's just kind of there because it needs to be, and Sauron's already in the deck. I want to put it at 2. I don't know. It's kind of like the same thing as Mr. Sinister, right? It's kind of the same reasoning I put for Mr. Sinister, where it's like in this good deck, but it's kind of like just there for redundancy, and it's like just not good in any other deck. I think it's a 2, which is weird, but I think it's a 2. Watu! Lol. Ultron. 3 stars. Very solid card. This has been 4 stars at some point. At one point, when Patriot was really good, Ultron's been 4. What's up, Brave? At one point, Ultron's been 4-star. When Patriot's been really good. Maybe not. Actually, maybe never, because it's very much a role player in the Patriot deck. And it's never found its way outside of any like a very core direct Patriot deck. So maybe it's never been a 4. But very solid 3. We are approaching Hand and Brain with Brody. It won't be live, it's gonna be recorded, but should be coming soon. Once we hit it, we'll get it all planned and everything. I think Ultron's a very solidly 3 power card. Very solidly 3-star card. Valkyrie. This is interesting.
Everybody's a Binks fan.
Yo, Sushi Jackson, thanks so much for the Prime. Marino, thanks for the support, everyone, today. I know subs aren't discounted anymore, which isn't quite as fun, but I appreciate everyone who's still here supporting with your primes, individual subs. It all means a lot. Titania is, no, it's not the same as Goblins because Titania jumps back and forth and you have to work out how they work. Goblins are also somewhat of a high skill card. They're not like crazy high skill, but it's very different. Not comparable. Valkyrie's almost a 3. I might put Valkyrie at 3 because she also is like really good in Cerebro 3. You guys are crazy if you think Valkyrie's a 4. I don't think she's not even close to a 4. But she's a 3. She's a 3. Powerful, interesting, unique effect. Works in Cerebro 3, works in Junk. Has a couple archetypes. Sometimes it's like just like an interesting tech card to throw in decks, like zoo decks. Sometimes she's in like some like lockdown controls type decks. I think she's a 3 power card from power level. I don't know if she's overplayed, personally. I think she's a 3. I was almost at a 2. I think she's low 3. Because I do think that she's probably slightly overplayed. I think that she does bring a lot to like several different decks. Her and ongoing Thanos is fun. Rip. Venom. Definitely 3. Is Venom the best destroy card? Oh, Killmonger is, right? Probably. Venom's damn close to 4, man. But looking at the other cards in 4, I don't think Venom's is important. I don't think Killmonger and Venom are on par. I think Killmonger's better. If I look at like Mystique, Luke Cage, Polaris, Spider-Man, like these cards in this bottom row even specifically, or just the whole thing, I just don't think Venom's on par with these cards as far as overall power level. Venom also kind of just goes in one deck, right? Venom doesn't really have any utility outside of like just strictly destroy decks. Show me destroy deck without Venom then? You can't. So much stronger than Carnage? Do you think so? Carnage costs 2. I think that's incorrect. I think Venom's at the top of 3. I don't think it crosses the threshold to 4. The reason that it doesn't cross the threshold to 4 is that Destroy is really... It's not even like a tier 1 or 2 deck right now. It's like a tier 3 deck. And Venom might be it's like the second best card in that deck. I don't think it gets over the top. Viper tier 2. Kind of, I've been doing like the same thing with all the junk cards, and it kind of just makes sense. They're meta dependent, decent, solid. Venom is an underrated Surfer card. I disagree with that. You want bodies for Surfer. Venom deletes bodies. I disagree. I don't think Venom is much better than Carnage. I would argue they're very close. Carnage is really good. It costs 1 less. Vision. Very solid 3-star card. Very solid 3-star card. Doesn't jump over to 4. Probably more mid 3-star. Vision just kind of fits in the meta right now in a cool place. It's very good. Carnage doesn't get anything close to the same stats. You keep like, have you ever heard the Twitter thing? You ever heard the Twitter thing where the guy's like, I like waffles, and then the other person's like, oh, so you hate pancakes? And it's like, no, dude, that's a completely different sentence. What are you saying? The KG one, that's I feel like you've been doing that like the last like 6 messages I've read. Every single take that I've seen from you is exactly that. It's like, I think they're about the same. Yeah, but Venom gets bigger. I'm aware. Yeah, freaking debate lords in chat, man. Vulture. Vulture's an interesting card. Vulture's an interesting card. The thing is, like, pure move decks, I think from a power level perspective, you have to call Vulture a 3. Just because Vulture from a power level perspective is pretty crazy, man. Vulture from a power level perspective is just like really, really crazy. Oh, playing the victim, the KG one. I love when people get called out and play the victim. It's like my favorite chatter. Vulture, I think just from a power level perspective, overall, I think you just have to put it as a 3-star. Now, it's like the pure move decks aren't all that good. But I think Vulture's just like a very, very soundly... All right, KG1, I like it. I like it. Okay, you're coming back to me, KG1. You're coming back to me. Vulture, I think you have to say is a 3. It's tough because like the pure move decks where like Vulture goes in, maybe there's like some way to try and use Vulture differently. Maybe with like Werewolf, there's different things to do. Vulture doesn't need a lot of movement. If you move Vulture once, it's a 3/8, which is insane stats. You know what I mean? I think from a power level perspective, you can't put Vulture under a 3. It's crazy power level cards. Just movement itself or pure movement type decks just are never that good. So that's why it kind of never like gets as much play. You know what I mean? I think it's definitely a 3. Very soundly a 3. Warpath. Gotta be a 1, right? Fringe play and destroy decks, but like destroy is pretty bad. And like it's also just been getting power crept for a while. I feel like Warpath has just been getting power crept over and over and over and over again. There's five tiers, 5 stars. 5 tiers, 5 stars. Warpath has just been getting power crept. A year ago was probably like a tier 2, tier 3 card in destroy lists, but it's just slowly gotten power crept. And now like a 4/9 isn't even that good. Like even 4/9 for such a ridiculous like thing to hit is not even that good. So it's just a 1. Very fringe play and destroy decks that are just bad. Wasp. Wasp's definitely the top of 3, man. Might be 4, dude. Wasp fits into so many things. Wasp does so much, man. Nah, Goliath will be one of the last cards. It's all basically all the pool 1 through 3 in order, and then like a lot of the new cards are dumped at the end. Move Rogue up? No, unfortunately Rogue just isn't a 4. It's very good right now. In this meta, I think Rogue is crazy right now, but a lot of times it's just really bad. I think Rogue right now feels like a 4. In this exact meta, feels like a 4, especially after yesterday. I'm going to put Wasp as a 4. I think Wasp is so good as just a 0-cost card. 0-cost cards in Snap, there's a reason there's none of them. It's because over 6 turns and with only 21 total energy, doing something for free is crazy. It's seen play in Patriot. It's seen play in that cool Hit Monkey deck that's new. It's seen play in every single Lockjaw deck. It's seen play in a million different Thanos decks. It sees Fringe play in HE. It had to get nerfed in HE because it was crazy. I'm gonna put it as a 4-star card. It's a very, very powerful card in Marvel Snap, and it is through a lot of different changes and a lot of different metas. Wasp has always been there, and I think it's probably been underplayed quite a bit. Put it at 4 stars. Very good card. Wave. Four stars. Yeah, infinite value. Wasp has literally infinite value. 4 stars for Wave. Even though right now Wave ramp stonks are on the decline.
This is what we got. Everybody's a big
Dumpster diver derp. Wave 5. Interesting. Maybe you're right. Yeah, you are right. Wave is a 5-star card. You're right. Yep. Meta defining at its core. Yep, you're right. White Queen. Fortunately falls into 1-star now. White Queen was very powerful a while ago, but now like Nick Fury just kind of invalidates it almost all the time. White Queen's just kind of invalidated by Nick Fury in a lot of ways. Still has good stats for the cost, but it just feels like you just can't play White Queen just got power crept. Feels like over time. Really fell off, yeah. One star. Fringe decks can find play for it. Like even in like that Agatha deck, someone asked like what to replace Iron Lad with, and I think White Queen might be the best option, which sucks. I think to help Dinosaur and to get information and maybe get an additional tool later in the game, White Queen's okay. But you might just want to play Nick Fury. You probably just want to play Nick Fury in that deck instead anyway. I don't know. Yeah, White Queen's rough. White Tiger. It's 1 or 2. I can say 2. Honestly, like, if you play Wave White Tiger Odin right now, you could still win a ton of games. If you can play those 3 cards in a row and nothing else, you can still win a ton of games, which is kind of crazy. Like, just those 3 cards in a row is pretty nuts. And especially if you play Ironheart, Wong, White Tiger, Odin. I think it's a 2 though. It's kind of gotten power crept. Like, getting 8 power for 1 is not that good. What's up, Sad Leon? Yeah, I think it's just a 2. Fringe play. There might be a meta where people want to do Wong, White Tiger stuff, but not right now. Wolfsbane. Between a 2 or a 3. Wolfsbane's between a 2 or a 3. I think Wolfsbane's hard. The problem with Wolfsbane is that you have to wait to play her. Like, pretty much, like, almost all good 3-drops. Like, let's go up to, like, the best 3-drops, right? Like, Wave, Wave, you could play her at the end of the game. You can play her early for certain ramp things. Patriot, you can play early, no problem. Storm, you want to play on curve. Surfer, you have to wait, but it has a crazy huge payoff that goes across all lanes. Cyclops, you play early. You know, Mystique, you kind of hold, but it has a game-changing thing. Polaris, you just play on curve. Spider-Man, you just kind of play on curve. The fact that you have to hold Wolfsbane, like, Killmonger, you kind of say, but sometimes you can just play on curve. When you're a 3-cost card and you have to hold it in your hand, it's just really hard, right? I'm gonna put her at 2 because of that. Every time I play Wolfsbane, you have to it can be like one of your only non curve 3-drops in your deck. Yeah, Brood, you just play it right on 3. That's the biggest problem with a card like Wolfsbane, where it's like, oh, it can get a 3/7, which is really good, but if it's in your starting hand, it's staying there till turn 6 almost always, and that sucks. It sucks to just have this card starting in your hand, because like then you're like end up top decking for other cards that you want. So I think it's a 2. I think it might be overplayed. Wolverine, solidly a 3. This card used to be a 2/3 that didn't get bigger. That was sad. Very solid destroy card. Does a lot of things. Very solid. Yeah, Punisher has been neglected. It's sad. Card sucks. Wong! I'm gonna put Wong at 4. Wong's a 4-star card. Definitely not 5. It's not meta defining at all. I think Wong has been a 5-star card at times. Very solid 4-star card. Very important card for the metagame. You see it more than Odin. You don't always see them together, but you see more Wong than Odin. Wong is always something that you have to consider whenever on reveals come out. Wongers. Very solid 4-star card. Very good card. People wanted to change Wong a lot a while ago. People hated Wong. A lot of new players hate Wong.
This is what we got. Everybody's a Binks fan.
I think Wong's really good. I think Wong will always find ways to find its way into the meta. Yo, Curse Lex. Thanks so much for the gifty. I appreciate you. Wong's just really good, really solid, well-balanced card. Yellow Jackets. 1. The only deck that I've seen anytime recently that wants Yellow Jacket is very fringe Cerebro 2 decks. And that like Kit Monkey Thor Jane deck. Wonga 4 but Cosmo at 3? Yeah. So see some very fringe play. There might be an argument it goes to 2. I don't put it in Dracula dump, personally. I don't think you'd put Wasp and Yellowjacket in it. Just Wasp. Wasp has too much negative, too much downside. Kind of a 1. Very fringe play. Pretty weak. Kind of the only reason it even gets considered play in that Wong Hitmonkey deck is because it has 0 cost and there's only 2. No, I don't think it goes to LOL. I absolutely don't think it goes to LOL. If there's another 0 cost card that gets added, it probably goes to LOL. But there's always a reason to add a second 0 cost card when Jane Foster exists. And that Hitmonkey deck, I mean, is pretty solid. Like probably like a tier 3 or tier 4 deck, and it needs Yellowjacket to be good. Definitely say it's a 1. Definitely not LOL. I want to put Yondu in LOL, to be honest with you. But I'm going to put it at 1. Yondu sucks in any deck that doesn't run Null or Death. Yondu's terrible in any deck that doesn't run Null or Death. And it's almost always getting cut now in those decks. Yeah, Death isn't really real right now. If there is reasons to play it, this isn't a disruption card. It doesn't do anything. It thins your opponent's deck for them. It only is important for Null and Death. If you don't have those cards in your deck and you have Yondu in it, it's like worse. It's just as good as Misty Knight. You can argue that you get some tiny bit of information, but yeah, it often just helps your opponent thin their deck. Yondu's way overplayed by new players who think that it's disruption, but it's a pretty like core understanding of like, oh my gosh, we're almost done, chat. Zabu! 4 stars. Right now, in the current meta, it's a little hard to play Zabu with Mobius, and Zabu's kind of disappeared, unfortunately. But it's a 4-star card. It's a very powerful card. It fits into so many decks. It unlocks so many archetypes. It's a very important card in the game. The only reason that it's been a 5-star card at points. When it was first released, this was the strongest card, one of the strongest cards ever released at one point. Very solid 4-star. Very solid 4-star there. If you're gonna play Zabu, you kind of also need Mobius in your deck. That it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything. Mobiuses don't cancel each other. 0. Yeah, it's hard. I feel like, yeah, Mobius is hard. Mobius is hard. I'll be honest, as ridiculous as Mobius is, I'm seeing far less than I would have imagined. So maybe a lot of deaths. You've seen a lot of deaths. I haven't seen death I've seen 1 death since Mobius came out. I've played this game for, I don't know, played this game for 30 hours. In the last 4 days or something, 40 hours. You're seeing a lot of Mobius. It's not letting you play Agatha. Yeah. I mean, I think it's fine even with Agatha. I mean, we faced 3 of the decks that we faced in our Infinite run had Mobius in it. You just have to get lucky, and you just retreat for 1 if the wave comes down after a Mobius. But like you have Lady Sif and Loki. Loki hurts obviously, but it's not the end of the world. I don't know. I think Zero's a 3-star card, man. It goes into one of the best decks right now, that Shuri deck. It's always found use with things like Ebony Maw. It's very powerful. It's very powerful. It's an overstated card that unlocks other overstated cards. I don't think it's a 4, but I think it's a very solid 3. Where's your Agatha list that won Conquest? Exclamation point Twitter. Find it. I think it's a 3. The I think Zero, you can find some ways to play it like outside of those decks too. Very cool. Abomination. 2 stars. Abomination, some like Affliction HE decks are coming out, but they're very rare, very meta dependent. When Luke Cage is around a lot, that deck just crumbles, which is hard. Good card. Good, fine HE card. I was kind of excited for Abomination HE, but yeah, Mobius also killing it. Sag. Another card invalidated by a 2/3 card that's almost free to put into your deck and you pay no cost whatsoever. I hate Mobius so much. I hate what Mobius has done to the game as a deck builder. It infuriates me. Every time I think about it, it gets me so mad. Abomination, solidly 2. Solidly 2. Absorbing Man is a 4/4. As a 4/5, there's an argument this card was a 5-star card for a second there. This card as a 4/5 was crazy. As a 4/4, I think it's top of 3. I think it's top of 3. It's close to 4 as a 4/4. As a 4/3, it was probably 2. Maybe bottom of 3. I think as a 4/4, it sits right at the top of 3. I don't really think it's on the power level of some of these cards that we're seeing here. Maybe it goes to the bottom of 4 because, like, I don't know, it's kind of like Wong in some ways, right? But I think Wong opens up more synergies. But like the Brood stuff, it's just gotten so much worse. Like losing 3 power on that Brood line really hurts it. I'm gonna put it at the top of 3. I'm thinking about 4, but I'm gonna keep it at the top of 3. I think it's solid, but as a 4/4, it's not quite as crazy. You put Adam Warlock in your deck, you're throwing. Arrow is a 5/8. By the way, ads are about to run. You're gonna get 3 minutes of ads. You can sub if you don't want to see them. It's Binksathon, baby. You can see the number on the bottom right go up because bigger number, better person. Arrow's a 3-star card. Arrow is underplayed right now. Right now is probably the best time to play Arrow. Why Cyclops 4-star? Because of HE. I'm just considering the cards as their HE variants, essentially, and what they do with the with Patriot. I think Arrow is the right now. If you want to play Arrow, right now is the best time to play Arrow because no one expects her, and she's seeing a lot more play recently. Actually, maybe not. Like maybe 2 weeks ago that was right. Now I've been seeing her a lot more. Arrow's wonderful. Arrow's a good power level card. I think the change is fine that they made for her. Get Wrecked mentioned that she should move the first card, which I think is kind of cool. Like thematically, her moving the last card I think is cool too. But I think the first card would be more disruptive and more important because you kind of know what card is going to come, which is cool. I think Arrow's probably underplayed right now. Even though she's seeing higher play rate, I think she's still underplayed. Very solid. Good power level 5 drop, good stats. Agatha's a 1. You can win with Agatha. I won an Infinite Conquest with her yesterday. It is possible. You can make decent Agatha decks that do okay. If you're trying to be competitive at all, though, if you're trying to be competitive at all, though, you probably avoid Agatha. But you can make her work, and she's a lot of fun to make work, in my opinion. I think Agatha decks are a lot of fun. Decks where you just let Agatha play are not that fun. They're kind of whatever. But Agatha decks where you are designing your deck to get rid of Agatha in unique ways, I think are very fun and very cool to play. But she's still a 1. I mean, she's bad. Let's be honest with ourselves. Hits Monkey. 3 stars. Very good card. Even after the nerf, as a 2/0, it's crazy, dude. As a 2/0, the card seemed like kind of fine. And then Kitty was around, and then Kitty left. Then Kitty came back. I even think without Kitty, the 2/0 Hitmonkey was crazy, and people were underplaying the hell out of it. Yeah, but their 6/14 doesn't draw them a card, Fergus, and our 6/14 draws them a card. Yeah, there's a lot of cards in the damn game. Hitmonkey's still very solidly 3 stars. Very good card. There's that really unique, cool deck going around. I've referenced a bunch of times. They use like Thor, Jane Foster, Wasp, Yellow Jacket, and Hitmonkey to just try and do a crazy final play with like Hitmonkey 0/0, and then you play like Mysterio 1 cost, and then you just get like a 16 power Hitmonkey out of nowhere. Really good card. It was a 4, maybe even a 5-star as a 2/0 at one point. But really solidly 3 after the nerf. I think the nerf was warranted, and I think the nerf is fine. Jeff! What can be said about our boy? I said Jeff would suck, and I didn't buy him at first. Lol. 5-star card. They always have Jeff, chat. They always have Jeff. Just remember, they always have Jeff. Snow Guard! Chat. Pre-nerf Snow Guard? Pre-nerf Snow Guard was a 5-star card. Pre-nerf Snow Guard, when it gave 2/2/3s, was a 5-star card. This card was so freaking good in every deck. She's a 4 now. I think she's still insanely underplayed. I think she's so powerful, and she can still go in just about every deck. She is insane. People still underplay the hell out of her. She's very, very good. Yeah, it went from LOL 5 to 4. Snowguard is still insane. She's still so good. Just, you can add her in any deck, and she's still very, very good. She's maybe the best tech card in the game. So good. Stegron! I think Stegron's a 1-star. I think when people play Stegron, it's kind of just copium. I don't even think it makes the cut in Cerebro 5.
This is what we got. Everybody's a Binks fan.
Mike plays Snap. I don't think it makes the cut in Cerebro 5. I think it's not. It doesn't make the 12 best Cerebro 5 cards. I think Stegron's just bad. Great card back though, so true. I think if you play Stegron, you're coping. If you like the card and enjoy it, that's fine. But I think if you're trying to build a good deck, there's infinitely better options. Like, you can play Polaris or Spider-Man that is arguably just as strong of an effect. I don't think it's LOL. I think it's 1. I think there's an argument that you could find it into a deck. I think Stegron would be fine as a 3/5, but that might get a little ridiculous if there's all 3 of those 3/5s. I think Stegron should be a 4/6 easily. Stegron should easily be a 4/6. If Iron Lad could be a 4/6, Stegron could be a 4/6. Howard the Duck, 1 star. Very unfortunate. The only time you ever play Howard the Duck is in Spectrum decks. I do think she's in just about every Spectrum deck. A lot of Spectrum decks, but Spectrum's really bad, and Howard the Duck even sees fringe play in those Spectrum decks. 1 star. Sag Duck. Iron Lad. Might be a 5. I think it's a 5. I think Iron Lad is a meta-defining card. There's so many good decks with the Iron Lad in it. I'm gonna go 5. Iron Lad's crazy. There's a million decks that Iron Lad can fit into and be one of the best cards in. I think he's 5. I think he's 5, for sure. Wonderful card. Very, very cool card. 5, but not in this meta. Iron Lad is in one of the best decks right now. You can put him into just about any deck. There's obviously, I think people overuse Iron Lad so much. You have to have a deck that doesn't have cards that you just lose if you Iron Lad, such as like Carnage and things like that. Like Deathlok can be really bad. Ebony Maw, you know, there's a bunch of decks that can't have Iron Lad. He's not an any deck kind of card, but in so many decks, he's a superstar. 5 stars. Wonderful game. Wonderful deck. What are those decks beside Brood's Abs? As far as like the tier 1 decks, none really, but he's a glue card in like a bunch of other tier 2, tier 3 decks. Living Tribunal. This was data mined as a 6/4, by the way. 3 stars. As a 6/9, he's kind of crazy. I think that Hela, yeah, he was data mined as a 6/4. And then they changed him to a 6/6 right before release. And then they upgraded him to 6/9. I think this Hela Tribunal deck might be underplayed right now. I think the main reason is because Spider-Man is so prevalent. And Spider-Man and Polaris both kind of beat up on the deck. It's not Cosmo anymore. Professor X can also beat up on it. Eliath beats up on it. Galactus beats up on it. But very strong power level. In certain metas, it does very, very well. There was a time recently where like the Living Tribunal Hela deck was one of the best decks in the game, which is crazy. It's crazy. Nebula. Putting her in 5. I think Nebula's crazy underplayed. I think Nebula's the best one drop in the game. I think it's better than Kitty. I think Kitty was better than... I think these probably swapped. These probably swapped when Kitty got nerfed. I feel like, as far as meta-defining one-drops go, how can you say it's anything other than Nebula, man? Insanely powerful card. Can be a 111 in certain situations. I strongly disagree. I strongly disagree that Sunspot is better. I think the Sunspot deck... No, I just very strongly disagree that Sunspot's better than Nebula. I very strongly disagree that Sunspot's better than Nebula. Nebula is, in a single card, from a cost to power output ratio, the best card in the game, I think. To pay 1 for this card is absolutely bonkers. You just put Nebula down and you just don't worry about it the rest of the game. And you know who has to worry about it the entire rest of the game is your opponent. This card is crazy. Absolutely insane. Underplayed as hell. High Evolutionary. Isn't it crazy how all these new cards just kind of crawl all the way up here to the top? 5 stars. Meta-defining card. I can't do String Recruiter right now, I'm sorry. I'll do it once I'm done. 5 stars. Crazy meta-defining card. Obviously, like Hulk, we have Hulk up here. I think the HE Hulk and this is just, it's a very important thing. You have to be worried about that every time you jump on the ladder, every time you jump into Conquest. You have to have a way to like circumvent that deck or a game plan. Spider-Man 2099. 1 star. One star for Spider-Man. Very fringe decks. Some people are trying to play him now. Like there's some decks that are kind of finding some use for him. Spider-Man 2099 is a 4/6, which is pretty cool. It's premium statted. I don't think it's low tier. I think there's some experimentation going on with Spider-Man 2099. Being able to destroy your opponent's cards without a condition that your opponent controls, i.e. being 1-drops or being 9 or more power, it's very rare in the game. I think Spider-Man 2099 has fringe play that you can add into certain decks. I probably wouldn't add him into almost any deck, but I don't think that warrants him being in low tier, where it's just like you're throwing if you put this in your deck. 100%. I think that you could build a deck that can have Iron or Spider-Man 29 be a good card in it. Spider-Ham, 2 stars. Borderline 1 stars. If the Mobius interaction didn't exist, it's assuredly 2 stars. Maybe it is 1 star is because of the Mobius interaction. You're kind of just throwing if you have this card in your deck right now. If they change or it is kind of unplayable. I won't put him in lull because there's a reason to put this in your deck. It's just refuted by a specific card in the meta. So there's a reason to have this card in your deck, so it's not that. But it is kind of throwing to play Spider-Ham right now, which is sad. Silk! Four stars. Yeah, I know Mobius makes it low tier, but I don't want to base his power level off of a single card. It also gets me mad. Right now, you are throwing the Spider-Hams in the deck. I think even before Mobius, though, it might be a 1. It's just the effect just isn't good anymore. It was a 4-star card when it came out. It was crazy. Even after it was nerfed, it was a 4-star card. It was very good. Just a conquest murderer. Silk's arguably 5. But I think I'm gonna stick Silk at 4. I think like Jeff is just a nudge above Silk. I think Silk can go in a lot of decks. I think Silk can go in a lot of decks that she's not in right now. Yeah, 5 on release arguably get wrecked, yeah. Especially in Conquest. 5 in Conquest. On ladder a 4. For sure. Sometimes Silk you can argue is 5, but I think that Silk can also screw you a little bit. She's just not on the tier of these other cards. I think Silk's a very solid, very good 4-star card. Also, I'm surprised some people thought Silk wasn't going to be good. That was very shocking to me. That some people thought Silk wasn't going to be that good on release. I was always a champion saying it's going to be one of the best cards, or one of insanely strong card when it came out. Ghost Spider's very solidly 3. Arguably the best move card. Probably the best movement card. Especially now that it's a 1-2. I'd say Ghost Spider's the best movement card. Can be used outside of movement decks, which is really cool. I think Ghost Spider's very underplayed. I think Ghost Spider's very underplayed outside of movement decks. I think it's the same kind of thing as Heimdall, where you can really surprise your opponent with Ghost Spider sometimes. Ghost Spider is very good. I think this card is very underplayed. Very underplayed. Very, very good card. Legion! 4 stars. Very solidly 4-star card. You can put Legion in any deck. Legion does so much. Arguably is a 5/8, and in the meta when he was around, he was a 5-star card, which is crazy. They're not ordered. They're not ordered. Don't worry about the order. I don't think Legion's a 5-star card anymore. I think on release, if it was a 5-star card for a little bit, it was kind of meta-defining card you always had to play around. Now I think the play rate has dropped. There's other cards that are kind of filling, and just like the meta and the decks that are getting played don't necessarily need Legion as much. But still just a wonderful, very solid 4-star card. Always remember, whenever you do a card review, whenever you start thinking about future cards, always remember what everyone thought about Legion. Always a card that you can add to your deck. Very good. What's yours high evolutionary? 5-star, 100%. Not even close. Phoenix Force. Three-star. Some people might be saying that she's closer to 4 now. Phoenix Force is a lot better than you guys think. As a 5/6, she was definitely a 1 or a 2. Phoenix Force is very good right now. Phoenix Force is really, really good. It can do a lot, and especially right now in like Mobius type meta, cards that can play 1 card per turn and also do other things are very important. Very solid 3-star card. I think that the Phoenix Force deck is probably like a tier 2 deck. It kind of has a really interesting idea where it uses all these interesting cards like Shuri and Nimrod and these destroy things and Phoenix Force, all that kind of come together in this really interesting idea. But very solid 3-star card, very good power level. It needs a lot of other cards to make it work. But now that it's moved down to 4, and I think it's specifically in this meta, it's very, very, very strong. Yo, Swanky! Thank you for the prime. Thank you, thank you. Echo! 1 star. Close to 2. Close to 2. But I think Echo is just... Yeah, I think if you're putting Echo in your deck, you're just kind of throwing. It's just a deck spot. This deck slot that's really hard. Echo never feels good to play. You kind of have to snipe with Echo. And it just feels bad. Echo's tough. It seems like it could do some good things. It might be I might be underrating how it can affect in certain metas. But I'm going to call her 1, unfortunately. White Queen 1 star. Yeah, she's just overshadowed by so many other cards. It's very hard to put her in a deck right now. Over like Nick Fury, for instance. Very, very hard to choose White Queen over other cards that you can put into a deck. Jean Grey! 2 stars. I had Jean Grey poised to be like a 4-star card. But it just seems like she kind of hurts you a lot more than you'd expect. Jean Grey just kind of hurts you a lot more than it helps as a 3/3. Again, there's kind of this problem, and this is the reason why I don't think Cosmo is a 4-star card. Like 3/3s are really hard to play. Like a 3/3 has to have a game warping effect. Like Sauron completely changes your deck. 3/3s are just hard. Like Rogue can do a huge sweeping change, kind of like a Shang-Chi. Like Cosmo, to me, it's just like it locks down a certain thing. It's you have to snipe with Cosmo. Like a 3/3 is just such an investment that's really hard to make. It's weird. Like Debris does so much. It adds 4 cards to the board. It gives you cards that you can utilize and annoys your opponent. Like 3/3 is a hard stat line to be good. Like Vulture can get +5, so Vulture can scale like crazy. Like 3/3s are just not good in Marvel Snap. Like Venom you can look at, but it grows, or it's a 3/3, but it's like it has this huge warping ability. 3/3s are just hard to want to invest to put into your deck as well. It's just so low tempo on turn 3. People are out here playing Spider-Man against your Jean Grey, and it's just oh, you're just 2 points ahead now, and like how do I get back? It's just hard. 2-star card. I kind of happy that Jean Grey is not that good, to be fair. I'm kind of happy Jean Grey is about this good. X23. Definitely not a 4. I think it's a 3. It's actually it's actually in the bottom of 3, I think. I think it might be worse than Wolverine, which is crazy. I don't know. I don't play too much Destroy. I don't play too much Destroy, but I feel like I'm never scared when my opponent's doing X23 stuff. It takes too much work. It's too random. There's just a lot of problems. Yeah, a lot of people thought X23 was going to be broken. But I think she ended up being like a 3-star card, a good glue card, a good tool for Destroy. I don't think she's ever really made any waves in any kind of discard stuff. Who said that? Who said that? Dakin. 3 stars. Very cool card. I really like Dakin. I think Dakin's a wonderful power level card. It's good. If you can discard a shard, he's a 3/8. Kind of like 1 move on Vulture, right? It's kind of like comparable to Vulture in some ways. Like you have to do one thing, which your deck is already planning to do, and you get rewarded with a 3/8. Pretty high on 3. I think that Dakin is probably a little underutilized. I think you can do Dakin in some smaller packages. Like I really enjoyed, I played the Sarah deck in Twitch Rivals that just ran like Dakin. It just ran Dakin, Colleen Wing, and Killmonger. It's just like those 3 cards. And it's just like, it just worked. And you just got a 3 out of it a lot of times. Setup can be a pain. It's a 3-8 though. How does a Shang-Chi beat it? If you're trying to do the crazy combos, it's a lot of fun too. I really also think that the Dakin Zola combo is a way that you can print cubes sometimes, which is crazy. I really like Dakin. I think it's just hindered by the fact that discard and destroyer are just not great. I think if there was like a really good discard or destroy deck, Dakin would beat it and he'd be one of the stars. Very, very cool, good card. Lady Deathstrike, don't put this in your deck. It's terrible. Ravonna! 2 stars. It's meta dependent. I like Ravonna more than most people. Obviously with Mobius, you're just dookie. It's definitely not a 1. I think a 1 is ridiculous. I think saying Ravonna could be a 1 is absolutely ridiculous, in my opinion. If you're saying that just because of Mobius, I guess, but like I don't think that that's a reason why you should just say that a card is unplayable. Like if Ravonna's a 1, why is Sarah a 4? And almost everyone agrees that Sarah's a 4, right? You know what I mean? It is a 3/3, but it also has a game-changing effect where you save energy. I think it's a 2. I'm almost want to put it at a 3 because I think from a power level perspective, it's close to a 3. But just the fact that the pool is pretty limited. You sometimes have to put not great cards in your deck, but also the fact that Mobius exists just makes it too meta dependent. I really, really like Ravonna. I'm gonna keep making decks with her. She's a lot of fun. Just makes me so sad, man. Just makes me so sad. I think Loki's better for the game than Mobius. I'll say it. Frick it, I'll say it. Elias the only one you could argue is a 4. But I think right now, Eliath is just, it's a meta-defining card. You always have to play around Eliath right now. I think it's simply a meta-defining card. Eliath might be a bit overplayed, but right now Eliath is a meta-defining card. I think it's probably the worst of any card up here, but right now I think it kind of defines the meta. It might be a 4. It's just hard because I really do think that Eliath is a meta defining card. And I don't love that. It might be the very top of 4 because I can kind of see it being in the kind of this glue area here. Keep it here. All right, chat. That is me ranking every single card in Marvel Snap. Can you guys say in chat how long exactly do you think it is to the minute? I would love to hear people to the minute try and guess exactly how long that took. Holy shit, dude. Okay. 49:14. To 4:26. Took 3 hours and 37 minutes. 3 hours and 37 minutes, chat. These aren't in order. Nothing's in order. Nothing's in order. You do it again? I wasn't paying attention. Yeah, let me reset this. 6 minutes off. Very nice. Very nice. Should order the 5 stars. I like that. Just the 5 stars though. Chavez Lord, nope, best card in the game. We should put multiple man 3 stars. I like this. I'm that over Dino? Yeah, I think so.
This is what we got. Everybody's a Binks fan.
Shiva, thank you for the prime. Thank you, thank you.